Wow.
It's here. It's big. And it's closer than you think. It's not a tournament. It's what you don't see on TV. The cash is real. The stakes are high. They bet big. They win big. They lose big. High stakes live action poker. Live at the bike. Watch it live on the web or play it if you dare at the Bicycle Casino right here in Los Angeles.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Live at the Bike, brought to you by the Bicycle Casino in Los Angeles, California, the first and only webcast of real action cash game poker. My name is Bart Hansen, and I'm joined today by Shirley Rosario for the first 2 hours of the show. How are you doing tonight, Shirley?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Bart and Shirley.
Well, that is great to hear. Of course, we are doing our traditional 30-60 game on Wednesday nights, a 30-60 limit hold'em game. The brown chips are $10 chips. And the structure is a 3-6 structure with a 2-3 small blind, big blind structure. And very, very big limit game. This is the biggest limit game that we consistently spread here at the bike on a daily basis. A rack of chips, Shirley, is going to be $1,000. And a stack, which is 20 chips, is going to be $200. Right. 5 stacks to a rack. So you got to see a couple people there with a couple racks. It's about $4 grand. Let's go around and introduce the table real quick.
Okay. In seat number 1, we have Grace. Albert is in seat 2. Annie is in seat 3. Gabriel is in seat 4. Seat 5 is Mr. Kim. Lizette in seat 6. Vicky in 7. Hank is in seat 8. And in seat 9, we have Maury.
And we are familiar with a lot of the people on the table here, Shirley.
Yeah, it looks like almost all of them, I think, except for seat 4. Seat 2 and 4, I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Hank has been on the show before. That's Gabriel right there. We don't really know that much about him. And Albert, who just got up. Of course, we got a lot of action on the table because Grace is in seat 1. We're taking a look here at the first hand. Looks like Grace has flopped a set of 5s. Now she's got 5s full of 9s. And she's going to continue to throw out. And look at this. Mr. Kim on a seat 5 is calling her down with ace high. Turn was a 9. And the river is a 9. Boy, you know, that's a bad card when you flop full house there.
Yeah.
Because any pair that's higher than a 5 is going to beat you.
Right.
It's funny, Mr. Kim, he called all the way down, but then he mucked on the river there with ace high.
Yeah, looked like he was drawn to the straight draw, the gut shot straight draw.
And Grace took it down. And Shirley, you filled in for me a little bit last week. I was in Vegas for about a week. And, of course, David Tuckman is gone for about 5 weeks. And everyone can visit his blog at www.thebike.com. Click on Under the Gun on the left-hand side of your screen. And I think he's updating it every day or every couple of days.
Yeah.
I entered 2 of the tournaments. I entered Thursday's event, which was the Casino Employees No Limit Hold'em, $500. And I entered Sunday's Limit event. And you entered the Omaha on Monday.
Right.
We'll talk a little bit about that after this hand.
Oh, that's...
Looks like it was just limped around there. Mr. Kim is led out. We can't see what his cards were. The flop is Queen Jack 4.
Yeah.
And Lizette raised with top pair. Looks like the button called and Mr. Kim called. 4 on the turn. Mr. Kim leads again. Now Lizette's just going to call. And the button calls. Button's drawing to open-ended straight draw. And he pairs up on the river here. Mr. Kim leads again.
And we'll soon see what he has. He has quads.
Wow. Maybe that's why he wasn't shown. So he flopped the set on the flop, turned quads, and everyone was drawing dead there. And looked like he just flat called the flop there and then bet into the turn, which usually represents quite a bit of strength.
If I'm not mistaken, he bet on the flop and Lizette raised with her top pair.
Right, and I think he just called and then bet into the turn.
Right.
Takes down a nice little pot there. Probably the tightest player on this table would be Maury in seat 9. And they're going to chop it down. It was very frustrating for me, Shirley. I got to Vegas on Wednesday. Had a couple of, maybe a couple too many on Wednesday night. And I woke up on Thursday early. And I got to the Rio, which is where the World Series is being held. I got there at 10 o'clock. Now, the event started at noon.
Right.
I didn't get to sit down to my table until 1:35. I was an hour and a half late. I waited. There are 2 lines. There's a line for registration, and then there's a line to pay for your tournament.
Right.
I waited in those 2 lines for 3.5 hours.
Wow.
When I got to my table, we started with 1,000 chips. They had blinded me off 100 chips. And I was midway through the second level when the blinds were 25-50. You can imagine how razzled I was, too, waiting in line for 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Really wasn't in any great condition to play. As Maury raises there and doesn't get any action. What the problem was, Shirley, was that they didn't have a special line for the same day registration, and they still didn't by the time I left. So everyone was trying to register for Friday's 1,500 no limit. And there was no special line for Thursday. They had 5 cashier windows, and they had 2 open.
Yeah.
2 open.
Yeah.
And it was just an absolute nightmare in the beginning. They got a little bit better towards the end. But I was very, very disappointed at of how the beginning stages of the tournament started out. It just didn't look like that they were prepared, for what to expect. And Friday's event sold out, Shirley.
I know.
The place holds 2,200. There's 220 tables. It sold out.
Well, David had warned us. He had left me a message that night, so I did announce on Live at the Bike that you had to get there that night to register. It was going to sell out.
Well, we got Ace-10 against Ace-3. Both players have flopped
top pair.
Looks like seat 8 is checked, and he's going to check raise Grace. And we know Grace, she'd probably call all the way down even with a 4 here. So she's definitely going to call with Ace-3. Now the turn is a King of Spades. That's Hank. Hank's going to check again. Let's see if he check raises here.
No,
he's just going to check call. Wow, and you know what? It's going to be a chop now.
Yeah, that king was a good card for her hand. If the 4 and 9
the 4
came,
was
they were going to chop.
Chop. Yeah. I don't quite understand why Hank he check raised the flop. I would if he checked the turn, I would have loved to see him check raise again. I mean, it probably Grace with any type of kicker is going to 3-bet you. She has Ace Jack or Ace Queen, and you check raise. She's probably going to 3-bet. She's not the type of player that cold calls and then pops you on the turn. I haven't really seen her make that move that much. But anyways, it's a split pot. So regardless.
Thank you.
So when I arrived to the World Series of Poker, it was the day before the Omaha event, and I was smart enough to register that day. After that, I went over to see how the final table was going for the no limit. You weren't here last week, but when David called and announced that it was selling out, I said there's no way, or not no way, but it was going to be almost impossible for a well-known to win the event. So Kev Math from 2+2 wagered me $5 at a well-known
I
would
saw
win
that.
it.
I saw that.
And when I went over to look at the final table, it was like 5 well-knowns of the 9.
I was going to say, yeah, most of them
Yeah.
were well known.
And when they got to heads up, it was Scott Fishman and Alan Cunningham. So
Yeah.
my pocketbook's $5 lighter, and Kev Mass, one of his online accounts, is $5 richer.
And I have quite a few comments about that final table after this hand I'd like to make. So we got Grace is actually raised out of the big blind here with ace-7 of spades. Wow, what a flop. She's flopped top pair with a flush draw. C2 also has a lower flush draw. And a couple of straight draws in there. C5 has got a second pair. So we're going to see a bet by Grace. C2 calls. Mr. Kim is going to call there with a jack. And Hank is going to call with the backdoor heart draw and a gut shot straight draw. 3 comes on the turn. Grace has still got the best hand. She's going to bet again. The lower spade draw calls. And Hank
Hank's done.
mugs.
So now C2's rooting for a spade, but he really doesn't want it.
Yeah.
Hank would have got there with his 10 queen.
Well, it's very dangerous to chase open-ended straight draws with
Yeah, well,
two
he
flushes.
he
on
didn't
the
even
board.
have an open end straight. He had a gut shot straight draw.
That's right. He had a gut
Yeah.
shot straight draw.
Yeah.
So maybe he was trying to see if he could catch a heart on the turn
He was
too,
gonna,
so he could
looking
stay
to improve
with
his
the draw.
hand, yeah. But that 3 didn't improve it at all.
There's a lot of discussion about, and I had talked to you about this before about one GSN show about what female poker players like they bring into these TV events. A lot of them don't have a lot of accomplishments, and Evelyn Ng and Cloney Gow, what's her last name?
Gowan.
Gowan. I mean, really, they came on the poker stage when they were the final 2 at the Bikes ladies event last year. That's when they were
year
really
before
first.
that.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
well, 2004, right, or 2003?
2003.
2003. That was the first time that they got any type of exposure. As we see ace 6-3 here on the flop. Looks like seat 4 has got top pair. He's just going to call. Seat 2 led with pocket 4s. 7 comes on the turn. C2's going to bet again with pocket 4s. Wow, another ace comes on the river. He's going to bet. And you would think with ace 8 you're probably going to raise for value here, surely, on the end. And oh, he's all in, so it doesn't matter. And ace 8 is going to take it down. Cloney Gowan and Evelyn Ng, like I said, they don't really have a lot of super accomplishments. They haven't been on any type of WPT final tables
Right.
that are non-women's events. Really no real World Series of poker accomplishments. This lady by the name of Liz Chu, I believe her last name is, who placed 5th in the event. Absolutely gorgeous woman. I think 10 times hotter than Evelyn Ng.
Really?
She got 5th place at this $1,500 event, and you really got to watch her. She plays cash games at Commerce, usually 100, 200, or 200, 400, and she's relatively new to the tournament stage. She hasn't really played a lot of tournaments, and she placed 5th in that event, and that's going to be televised on ESPN.
See,
And
I'm not familiar with her.
She is going to get unbelievable coverage now.
Yeah.
Once this thing comes out on ESPN, she's going to be the woman player now.
Yeah.
You know?
When I went over and looked at that final table,
Yeah.
she had her back to me, so I couldn't see what she looked like. But I'll take your word that she's a hot chick,
Oh, yeah.
and she can play, obviously.
Obviously. I mean, like I said, that's amazing. Gets through a 2,200 person field.
Right.
And, yeah, she's going to be well known on the poker stage when this thing comes out. So I'm just giving you a little advance to all those people out there now. Because I looked up her name on some of these tournament databases, and that was her first tournament accomplishment I saw. Mm-hmm. And like I said, she's a high-level, high-limit cash game player. And, maybe this was one of the first few tournaments that she's entered.
Yeah.
But she is going to be, well known now. And as I told you before, a couple weeks ago, I was kind of complaining about when they had done the Battle of the Sexes on GSN a couple weeks ago about how they brought these women players on that really, I mean, Erin Ness would finish 260th.
Yeah, that was the Young Guns. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then this other female that was a blackjack player,
yeah,
and I was like,
yeah.
why wouldn't they pick somebody who had some real accomplishments
Right.
in the poker world? So look for her.
Okay.
I think she's going to get a lot of coverage.
I want to know what Big Fry
I think her name is Liz Liu, not Liz Chu.
I think it
Liz
is Liu, right.
Yeah.
Beef rice. Big fried beef rice.
We're going to see a raise here. And look at
pocket
this.
king.
Grace has got kings. Grace is 3-betted Hank. Hank raised there with a king-queen suited. Hank's in real bad shape here. Ace Jack 3. Look at this. Hank leads.
I'm amazed.
And Grace bets. Well, I was going to say, if you do that, well, he does have the gut shot, so maybe he's going to take one off. Well, the turn's an 8. Let's see what Hank does here now. Now he's going to muck, it looks like. You know, maybe he was trying to, you know, if someone had 3-betted him with pocket 9s or something and you bet into that type of flop, well, it can be scary for pocket 9s. Now we know Grace, she's probably not going to back down though, so you might want to choose your spots a little bit better. I was also very, very frustrated. I took Sunday very, very seriously, which was the limit hold'em, which I think is my strongest tournament game. And I was very excited about hour rounds, a lot of cards. A lot of times limit hold'em, especially in a smaller tournament, if you don't pick up cards, there's really nothing you can do.
Right.
It's not like no limit where you can make moves, be real aggressive. And I just couldn't pick up any playable hands. In such long levels, it's really a rarity.
It is long levels, but don't you agree that the $25 level, it's too high to start with only 1,500 in chips. I wish that they had put in a 1025 or a 525 blind there, but it's 25 blinds and then 25.50. So you kind of have to do something right from the get-go.
Seat 4 here. He's bet into the flop. The flop is Queen 3 King. We can't see Mr. Kim's cards. Mr. Kim raised him, and then he 3-betted. Now he's checked the turn, seat 4. Now he's check called. He's got an open-ended straight draw with top pair. Rivers is 7. And it looks like he's going to check call here as well.
So I
Mr.
can see
Kim
a queen.
shows...
I see a queen, but I can't see the other card. Looks like he has two pair, queen, king.
Yeah, he flopped top 2 pairs there, and he's going to take it down. A nice little pot there, probably somewhere around $700 or $800.
So I actually really gave it a shot, Bart. I mean, the Omaha, if you can believe it, brought in 698 entries. And I finished in about 100th place. They paid 63. So I was playing well. You know, I made a mistake here or there, but only like 2 that I can remember. And hopefully next time I can do something. But it was kind of funny on the break. I went and, made my phone calls to, family or friends or whatever. And I said, you want to hear something funny? We're down to 180 players. And, of course, he doesn't get what I'm talking about. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I go, I mean, we're down to 180. Normally a tournament's just starting.
Right.
And I'm sitting here saying we're down to 180 because we started with 700 players. It's just was unbelievable. I'm sitting there sounding like it's an accomplishment, which it was.
Flop is an 8-7-3. I don't believe it was raised. Mr. Kim has got the top end of a gut shot with overcards. Probably a pretty powerful hand. He's going to raise in position. I'd assume if he doesn't hit anything, he's going to take a free card here on the turn. See what he does. Look at this. Maury's going to bet in, though, from seat 9. With the 8, look at that. He wasn't even scared of the overpair, and he takes it down, and Mr. Kim gives up on his gut shot. And Maury takes it down. Of course, David Tuckman, one of the other commentators for Live in the Bike, had a great showing in the big event on Friday, the $1,500 no limit. He finished 66th, I believe, and I think he won somewhere around $7,000, maybe a $5,000 profit or something like that.
Although I bet if you ask him a great showing, he wouldn't be saying he's
right.
a great showing. He's going to be frustrated.
He wants to win every event that he enters. That's the attitude that you should have.
Yeah.
He was at Fishman's table for a long time. I was watching him, and he looked a little bit frazzled by the fact that, Scott Fishman, he was playing every other hand. He was bringing in a hand for, he was involved with at least 75-80% of the hands. So to play at his table, you really got to figure out some sort of counter strategy and figure out what's going on. So I don't know if Dave really had a chance to do that or not. Ace 8-9, 2 spades here on the flop. Grace is going to bet in with Ace 6. Mr. Kim has called with bottom pair, and Hank is going to raise with Ace Jack. Hank's in really good shape here on the button in seat 8. The turn is a king.
Mr. Kim's drawn real slim, as Jack is going to also give Hank 2 pair. He's drawn to an 8. And he's still going to call.
Wow. Again, these are $60,
Bets,
4th Street bets and 5th Street bets. The river's a 4. I would still love to see Hank bet here for value, and he does. I love the bet at the end. Ace Jack. A lot of people will shut down there, but if you've been betting top pair all the way, Shirley,
Ace 6 of diamonds.
if you've been betting top pair all the way, and a harmless card comes on the river, and that was a harmless card, the 4 of clubs, why not bet? And if someone's got a weaker ace or second pair, they're going to call you, and Hank made an extra, $60 there by betting there on the river. A lot of people miss those value bets on the river. But Sunday was just so frustrating for me, Shirley, because, like I said, it was probably one of the coldest run of cards I can ever remember in like a 4 or 5 hour period. And it was just frustrating that it happened to me in a World Series event, in an event where you actually need cards to really move up, not like in a no-limit event or something like that,
Right.
It was very, very frustrating.
Let's see if they chop. What? You chop?
And then Grace in seat 2 is going to chop.
High spades. I had 10 high spades.
You chop this time?
I had 10 high.
I will agree with people. No Limit Hold'em is definitely the Cadillac of poker, and it's the toughest game, and usually you need the most skill to win in it. But the thing with limit tournaments are that I see so many people that are in limit tournaments that really don't know how to play Limit Hold'em tournaments, very well. And seems to be a lot of dead money.
I don't know about agreeing with you as far as saying that no limit event takes more skill. I think it takes one of the least amount of skills of all games. Do you really think? Yeah, because it just boils down to a lot of the time just getting your chips in on coin flips.
Pure aggression.
Well, getting them in on coin flips, and a lot of the outcomes are decided on coin flips. It's not manipulating. Like pot limit is so much more advanced, and figuring out ways to bet, and if you raise here, how much can they re-raise, and pot limit's just amazing, and I think that limit even takes a little bit more skill.
I just think that in the first 3 or 4 or 5 levels, but when people are jockeying up for chips, I really think that squeaky tight play in limit tournaments really, at least for me, and from all the material that I've read, really is the proper way to play a limit tournament. You're not really looking for cards that are necessarily suited like you are in a cash game, because you won't be playing a lot of draws.
Right.
You don't want to, play a hand that you might have the correct odds to call, but at the same time, if you miss, now you have no chips. It's obviously different in tournaments than it is in a cash game. And I just saw people limping in a World Series event with like a King 5 suited under the gun in a limit. Usually you'd never want to limp in ever in a limit tournament. Usually you always want to bring it in for a raise.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
I think a lot of players have it backwards, that they can see cheap flops in the early rounds, so they play a lot more hands, when that's really when you have to be tight, because you can't win a tournament within the first couple rounds, but you can lose your tournament within those first couple rounds.
Right. Now we see kings against aces here.
Ace-king.
Kings against ace-king, excuse me. And C3 has been betting all the way here. Ace-king's trying to figure out if he's going to take off or if his ace-king is good right now. And that's Annie Lou in seat 3.
Oh, right.
A club comes on the river. And he's going to bet. Look at this. Ace-king pays off all the way.
I had 7 deuce of spades.
So now in limit tournaments, when everyone else is starting to tighten up because the betting rounds are getting bigger, that's when your game should loosen up a little bit.
I mean, I can give you an example of, during the third level when I was pretty short-shipped, I brought a hand in for a raise with king 9 offsuit. That's how bad the cards were. I was under the gun. And I was figuring, I was just going to pick up because who in their right mind would call me because I had been playing
Because
so
you hadn't
tight.
played, right.
And I ended up doubling up that hand because I flopped a king in the river to king, and the guy called me all the way with second pair. Basically, the hand I went out with was someone had raised from late position, and I 3-betted with pocket 5s in the 5th level because, those were some of the 2 best cards I had. It was a ragged flop, so I went all the way, and the guy ended up having aces. It's just something that happens, but it was very, very frustrating for me. Heads up here, Grace against seat 2. Ace-4 against deuce-6. Grace is going to bet, and she's going to take it down there with bottom pair.
How did deuce-6 even get in that hand?
I don't know. I think we get a
He
live
wasn't
one on
in
the
the blind,
table.
yeah.
Yeah. And I would imagine that it looked like Grace probably brought that one in for a raise, too, with any ace. There we go. We got a picture of Liz Liu there on 2+2. And I don't even think that picture does her a lot of justice. Thanks, Russ McGinley, for putting that up. But she really is pretty,
Yeah,
I think.
she's a pretty
yeah,
girl.
Yeah. Grace is bringing this hand in for a raise. She's got king 10 offsuit. Now look at this, Shirley. C2 is called with a 4-7 suited. So we do have a couple action players
Yeah,
at the table
looks
here.
like it.
Yep. And she's going to see 4-way action here. Looks like. Queen 8 Jack. Look at this. Maury out of seat 9's picked up a flush draw with bottom pair. Grace is open-ended. She's going to bet. Seat 2 mucks. Seat 6 calls with second pair. And look at this. Maury check raises with the pair and the flush draw, building up a pot. That's almost like a value check raise there, Shirley. He's got a lot of outs to improve his hand. The turn is a 6. Let's see if he checks here. Now he's going to bet. Grace is going to call with the open-ender. And now it's over to Lizette that she actually has the best hand. But again, Maury's the tight player, so he's check raised the flop. Well, Lizette's going to call with second pair here. River is a queen. And it looks like it gets checked down on the river, and Lizette's going to take it down.
The best hand? Oh my God. I did it.
Thank you. Five chips.
So look at Annie Liu there. She's got 2 racks in front of her. That's in seat 3.
She has all kinds of chips, and she's not looking too thrilled.
2 racks in front of her. That's 4,000 plus however much in front of her. Again, she's got 2 tall stacks there. Probably at least 5,000 in front of her. Again, this is a big game. We have a programming note I'd like to mention about tomorrow night's show.
Each
After this hand.
rack is what, Bart?
2,000. 1,000, excuse me.
1,000.
1,000, I'm sorry.
So,
1,000.
yeah, she doesn't have 5,000.
2,000, about 3,500.
She has
Yeah.
3,000 something.
Got all excited there for
Yeah.
a second.
I'm like, she only started with 26.
I was thinking a 4080 where a rack would be. Well, actually, a 4080 would be the same thing. A rack would be
We used to
$10
use the
chips.
brown chips.
Yeah. Turns a 5 of spades here. Seat 2's picked up a pair. He had a gut shot. And now he leads in as seat 7 checks, and he's going to take it down. Rabbit Cam shows an ace. Ace 10 would have got there with the best hand. Again, limit hold'em, for those of you out there that aren't familiar with it. And I find that a lot of players, especially those that have just started playing poker since the no limit craze came out about 2 years ago, aren't really familiar with limit hold'em. It's really, you have to play the game. Your starting hand requirements, you have to be much, much tighter.
Yeah.
Because you don't have implied odds like you do in no limit. You can't win someone's whole stack.
Well, you don't have as many implied.
Yeah,
odds.
right, right. You can't win someone's whole stack. You don't play small pocket pairs from early position. You don't play suited connectors from early position. I mean, obviously the game is about position, but you're really looking for high ranked cards, high suited ranked cards, even better. High pocket pairs.
Bigger pocket pairs, yeah.
Small blind.
I think it's suicide to play pocket pairs below 7s from the first 3 positions in this game. And if you see somebody...
I would even go tighter than that.
Yeah, if you see somebody playing those hands, you can really peg them as a player that's really not that strong. I think it's one of the first things that you can see. Playing ace rags suited also, especially if it's not a super, super loose game in the early positions, is not really a good thing to do either.
Give me 4. Thank you.
Button, nobody else
But I gotta say, the Rio was, they set it up pretty nice, Shirley.
They did a good
amazing room they have there. It was just, like I said, I just had a bad taste in my mouth from the beginning because of the chaos that went on the first 2 days. I ended up playing live games at other casinos like the Bellagio and the Wynn and stuff like that, but it was still overall a pretty good trip.
How about that hike to the convention center?
Well,
That's a damn hike.
Once I had the taxi cabs start dropping me off in the back, so I didn't have to walk through the hotel.
Well, I stayed at the Rio,
hotel.
so I had to walk over there, and it's far.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like walking a mile or anything like that, but it's far.
Now, just like we said, not playing small pocket pairs from early position, seat 2 is made a raised under the gun with pocket 3s, and he's hit a set right away on the flop. Unbelievable. King Jack 3. And he's going to bet.
Doesn't it seem like no matter what we say,
seat 4 is called with
wrong.
6s. He's going to muck. And look at this, Lizette. Lizette is a very aggressive player. She's going to raise with second pair. And it looks like seat 2 put a crying call in there, probably trying to check raise on the turn. And you would imagine that's what he's going to do here.
It doesn't look like he's grabbing enough chips, but that would be the wise move, I would think.
Yeah,
he did.
He's going to check raise. And now, if I'm Lizette, you got to figure that probably Ace-Jack is not going to be good. A lot of times if you get check raised on the turn with high cards out there, Shirley, one pair isn't good anyways.
Yeah.
Now, she doesn't even have top pair. She has no redraw here, really. So I think I might have laid that one down on the turn.
Oh, she's still calling.
And she's called all the way here. And if I'm correct, on the turn she was drawing totally dead.
She was, but
Yep.
I would imagine she was drawn for a jack or an ace. I'm surprised she made the call on the river.
Yeah.
The jack or the ace wasn't going to help her, but she probably thought it would.
Again, if you get check raised on the turn in a limit game with rags on the board and you have an overpair, I think your hand definitely is good enough to stay with, or maybe even to re-raise, because a lot of people will just make a move on you, especially in a high limit game. But if there are high cards out there, like a king, a jack, and someone check raises you on the turn, and you don't even, it might even be proper against the right player to lay down ace king in that spot on the turn. So I think she probably should have got away from that one with ace jack on the turn. Looks like seat 4 had limped in there. So we're going to see 3 ways. The blinds with an early position limper.
3 play.
Seat 4 has 8-9 offsuit. Another hand that you probably wouldn't want to take in from the first 3 positions, Shirley.
No.
Queen, deuce, jack, 2 hearts on the flop.
There we go.
Look at this. Seat 2 is flop, top 2. He's bet the flop. I would assume a heart comes on the turn here. Let's see if it slows him down at all.
And seat 4 is not going to give up. He has straight draw now and a flush draw.
Well, seat 2 checked to seat 4. Seat 4 bet.
Yeah, but I would have taken the free card. He had, he has some
Yeah.
outs.
Look at that. A heart comes on the river. It's going to give 8-9 the best hand. Guy in seat 2 flop top 2 pairs. And now the question is, can you call? He doesn't have a heart. In this types of situation, Shirley, at first when I was first starting out in limit, I thought it would just be a great laydown if I didn't have a heart. But sometimes if I have a minimum of 2 pairs, it might be correct to call here because the pot is so big.
Right.
And someone could be betting 2 pair as well.
Right.
The 9 of hearts is going to take it down. Especially if you see that move when someone bets into you, when a 4-liner flush comes on the river, and someone bets into you, and you're in last position. Depending on the situation, it is correct to call sometimes when you don't have the flush, especially if you have 2 pairs or better. Because if someone else has 2 pairs, if they're going to check call anyways, they figure I might as well bet. Maybe I'll get a better hand to lay it down.
Right.
So.
I was going to, but now I'm going to limp in just to trap you, Tony.
It worked.
Just to trap you, Tony.
4 places.
We're going to see 4-way action here. It's been limped around. Seat 7 is flopped bottom 2 pairs.
Are you looking for seat 4's name?
Seat 7.
Seat 7.
Don't give me eggs. I want
Vicky.
Oh, that's Vicky there. Sitting around the table.
You know Vicky.
Wow, a jack comes on the turn. And seat 3 is still in there with 3-8 suited. It looked like somebody mucked an ace. Wow. Seat 3, that's Tony, it looks like. And, of course, he's a big time action player. And he's calling with 3-8 suited?
He sure is.
Wow.
You got to check his cards, make sure they're right. Then they're right.
A 4 of spades comes on the river.
Well, maybe he's going to try to represent a flush, but
What do you have?
nah.
8.
And it looks like Vicky just checks it down, and of course she's going to take it down with 2 pairs. Wow. And like I said, I had to do a double take and look down at the window.
I saw you, yeah.
And someone had mucked an ace there. I think it was Maury. Someone had a weak ace, and with that type of flop, if someone raises in front of you and the flop has ace, king, 10, and you have a weak ace, probably correct to muck.
Yeah.
Again, we monitor 2+2 thread, Shirley.
Right.
Forgot to mention this in the beginning. You can go to www.2plus2.com, spelled out, and click on the televised.
It's World Poker
World
Tournaments or televised events.
Right, and we're right there. You can
Well, tonight at the bike,
post up some live comments, and we'll try to respond to them. You can also email us at live@thebike.com. Try to get back to you.
we're running our mini series of poker, and tonight's event is the $150 buy-in 7-card stud.
Stud high. That's right.
So that starts at 7:15.
Look at this. Seat 2 is going to bet on this flop with 3-6 offsuit. Well, it was a good bet if you didn't have a guy like Seat 3 in there. Seat 2's bet. Seat 3's... Now Seat 3's picked up a backdoor diamond
right,
draw.
A flush draw.
And Mr. Kim is called with pocket 3s here all the way, too. Let's see what the river brings. Seat 2's picked up a pair. The river's a diamond.
There we go.
And C3's made the backdoor flush. Unbelievable. Tony and C3's going to take this one down. Wow. And now all C2 really has
Giving
is a
him
pair
the
of
stare
sixes.
down there.
And I was looking, Shirley, Queen 4 doesn't have a gut shot there on the flop either. He's got Queen 4 of diamonds on the flop there. Tony called a bet on the flop.
Play no limit, huh?
I knew you were waiting for my check.
And C2 there, Albert's thinking about, should I call here with bottom pair?
He is not thinking. Oh, God,
He
he
is gonna call.
is.
That's just unbelievable. And Tony makes the flush.
Diamond.
Wow.
I have to do it to you. I wish I would do it to her.
Got a couple of players here who play a lot of cards, Shirley. Like to play a lot of different cards.
I can't believe he made that call.
We could only beat a pure bluff.
Yeah.
And then if people were unfamiliar with the way that Tony plays, now they see him show down that hand, and now you got to think, well, this guy's called a flop with a backdoor diamond draw
Well, we
only.
found call
With 3-8 diamonds
It was
before.
8 high.
But that wasn't shown down, though. This one was shown down. You know? Hank's going to raise there. Oh, Hank's got pocket aces. Hank's a 2+2er, or he posts on 2+2 quite a bit.
Uh-huh.
As Sparks. That's his handle name. He's going to get called in 2 spots here. Look at Mr. Kim calling out of the big blind with King Deuce offsuit.
Yeah.
Wow, and he's flopped
He
2
hits it.
pair. You got to think he's going to check raise here. And seat 4's got a club draw. Mr. Kim's going to check raise. Sparks does the correct thing in 3 bets, and you would think that Mr. Kim would cap it. Well,
He didn't.
he didn't. Maybe Mr. Kim is afraid that Sparks might have a set or something. The turn is a 7. A diamonds gives seat 4 a pair and a flush draw. Let's see what Mr. Kim. Let's see if he raises.
Looks like it.
And now at this point, well, Sparks is going to call him down all the way. Wow, what a pot we have here. Mr. Kim is in the lead. Mr. Kim's going to have to dodge a club, an ace, or a 7. The river is a queen. And Mr. Kim bets. And now Sparks has got to think, well, are my aces good? Now Mr. Kim bets. You know, it's very, very tough to get away from overpairs sometimes in this game, but if you follow the action, Shirley, Mr. Kim, he's check raised the flop, he check raised the turn. Is 1 pair good? Would he do that with ace king? I think I can at least probably put him on 2 pairs or a set. But then at the same time, Shirley, you think, well, the pot's so big.
Well, then
Look at that. Sparks makes a great laydown.
Yeah.
And the hand's not going to get
But
shut
when
down.
you're sitting in that spot, a lot of times you'll convince yourself that's the logical way of thinking, but you're thinking, oh, well, there was 2 clubs on the flop. He might be on a flush draw.
Yeah.
I don't like river. They don't force.
Anybody else?
That's kind of brutal there for Sparks and seat 8.
King good. Big blind special.
Yeah, 2 pair, right?
Thank you. The gate pocket ace is a bad.
I was on big blind. I don't play with the king goose. But
Did you raise?
Yeah. I raised on every street except the turn.
just for the side,
Was that deuce on the? Was that on the flop or was it?
Turn was 7 of diamonds.
Right.
River diamonds.
I mean, but there's no way down for us.
I don't like river.
Mr. Kim takes down probably somewhere around $1,000 pot. We're talking about a check raise in this game is a $120 bet, basically called in 2 spots. So on that street alone, that's $360. He had check raised the flop, so somewhere around $700, $800. Big bets. C2's come in here for a raise with king queen offsuit, and he's flopped a king.
6-7 has the open and straight draw.
Mr. Kim
C6
calls.
has gut shot straight.
Lizette's going to call. She's going to call with the wheel draw. With an
The
overcard.
3 is not going to help her hand.
And the turn is a queen. It's going to give C2 top 2 pairs. Mr. Kim's still in there with the open-ended. And Mr. Kim checks. King-queen bets. And he's going to take it down. Albert there in C2. The thing, Shirley, is obviously I think you have more of a vested interest in how women are viewed in poker in terms of television and marketing. So how do you feel about what I've been saying about, I mean, you think that some of these women, especially the young pretty ones, are pretty overrated in a lot of facets?
You know, oh, Bart, don't put me on the spot, please. Yeah, you're really putting me on a spot. I will say that a lot of women that deserve recognition do not get it.
Okay, I think that's a good answer. Look at this. Lizette's bet on top pair and Grace's call with pocket sixes. Now Lizette's got trips, and that's going to make probably Grace think that her sixes are good. Lizette bets again. Grace is going to call. Lizette's got the trips. She's going to take it down. C2 is going to come in there with Jack 10 of spades. Now, this is the type of hand that I would probably limp with because you would want multi-way action. But he's going to steal the blinds, and he's going to take it down.
Yeah, in this kind of a game, you can win some pretty big pots with that kind of a hand if you hit.
Yeah. Obviously, you know, if you've got Jack 10 and someone calls you with Ace Queen, Ace Jack, you're in trouble. I mean, and you're out of position if you raise an early position. That's why those types of hands I usually would like to limp with Queen Jack suited, Jack 10 suited. Usually with King Queen suited, I'll bring it in for a raise.
Toss been raised. 4 players.
Pot is raised here, and we're going to see four-way action. 7, 5, 7 on the flop.
Where is it?
See,
Maury's bet with pocket sixes.
and am I wrong? Is he 3 raised there with a 9-10?
It looked like it. It looked like it. And it gets checked around. The turn was an ace, and the river's a deuce.
That's inside.
Nice raise.
And seat 4, or seat 3,
We must have had his cards up wrong.
yeah. I think he might have had pocket 9s there. We apologize. I think that's what happened. Maury bet with sixes. Seat
there
3
you
raised
go.
with 9s.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
It's too scary to call them.
Big one?
It never stops bet. I mean, even if you get your 2 pair.
Became lonely,
It's time to play time.
and the printer didn't show up.
Put it in your up so you couldn't print the money, huh?
No,
It never
Just
stops.
printed some last night. It's good.
well, good for you. You should have called me. I would have some more.
Maury's going to raise here on the button. He's got a King Jack offsuit. Mr. Kim is limped in seat 5 with Jack 10 offsuit, it looks like.
4 players.
Seat 2 and seat 3 are going to call. So we're going to see raised 4-way action. Jack, Deuce, King. Maury's flop top 2 pairs from seat 9 on the button. He's going to bet. It gets checked to him.
Tony, you got none of this. Come on.
I know. That's what I'm calling.
Well, Tony's going to call with an 8-10.
Hopefully I get one right
And
now.
he even said he doesn't have anything of it. Now he has the open straight draw.
Turn is a queen.
He knows. when
Now
I
Kim
get
has
like
got the, he's got third pair with open-ended
Open
straight
end.
draw as well.
Tony has open end.
Check raise, sweetie.
Maury's going to have to dodge a
Just pick
card
up a
here.
straight draw.
The river's a 3, that's good.
I check.
Now if you're Mr. Kim, I think you really got to get away if Maury bets here. I mean, how can Jack 10 possibly be
Pick up
good?
a straight draw.
I mean, limit again is also about saving bets, surely.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, the pot's big, but there are some instances where there's just absolutely no way you can have the best hand. But he's going to check call, and he makes Maury an extra $60, and that's why you want to bet a hand as strong as, 2 high pairs on the river there, because if someone calls you off, why not? $60 extra.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
Again, Maury's probably the most straightforward player on this table. He's not going to make a lot of moves, so I think it probably would have got away from Jack 10 there. Looks like Mr. Kim's raised it up out of seat 5 with ace-jack offsuit. C2's going to call with an ace-deuce offsuit, and Tony's in there with queen 10. 9-9-5. Gets checked to Kim, he bets. C2 lays it down. Tony's in there with queen 10. Turns a 4. And Tony check calls with queen 10. The river's a 3 of diamonds. And it gets checked down, but Mr. Kim's got the best hand with ace-jack. Tony pats the table, and Mr. Kim takes down a nice little pot there in seat 5 again.
That's right. Brian, you showing me with every hand certain things.
Touche, sir. Touche.
I'm sorry.
Slow down, Grace.
Grace is going to raise. She's got a queen 10 offsuit. She's going to raise from late position. She's going to get called in 3 spots.
Flops a straight.
Wow, she flops a straight. And C2 on the button's got a pretty good hand. Top pair with an open end. You see if he raises it up. He is going to raise.
And Tony's going to call there with
5-7. Wow. Well, he's got a gut shot to the 10.
Well, the 6. The 6 will give him the straight.
He's actually double gutted.
Yeah.
Double gutted.
I mean, it's not good, but...
Yeah, he's double gutted. Again, though, both ends, though, he's going to have the bottom part of the straight. Now he folds. Grace made it look like 3 bets. The button made it 4 bets, and Grace called. The turn is a 5. Grace bets. Button calls. The river's a 6. Grace is going to get paid off probably all the way here.
Tony's over there mumbling, "Oh, God, I would have made a straight.
I would have made my straight with the 7, but that's no good, Tony. Grace is loving it.
You represented straight the way you did.
Hey, you're not supposed to be doing that."
Tony, how about now?
So Tony was double gutted on the flop, but again, you've got to look at where your straight's going to bring you. You have 1 card to the bottom end both times.
Right.
So anyone with a 10 basically is going to have a higher straight if some of your cards come into play.
Right.
So your 5 is not looking too good
on
that side, right? So, it's got to really figure out what you're drawing to. I mean, a lot of times people will get stuck too surely. They'll look and they'll say, "Oh, I have an open-ended straight," but they don't realize that if you hit one side of it, it's going to bring a 1-card straight to a higher straight for somebody else with a single
just
card.
needs 1 card higher than that.
So, and Tony's going to raise from the button. He's got ace 5.
Gabe 3-bet there with ace king. Gabriel. His name's Gabriel.
I got to tell you, I like the play. Late position raiser. Ace king's probably going to be a better hand than what the button brings it in for a raise with. He's going to bet. Tony's going to call. Turn is a jack. He's going to bet. Tony's going to call. The river is a 3.
They're
Look at
chop.
that. It's going to chop. That's just unbelievable.
That's just...
Put your cards up, Tony. There you go. I was thinking he was going to muck there for a second. And it's going to get chopped down.
Gabriel's trying to figure out, why am I chopping? 2 pair on the board. Ace plays.
7s and 3s with an ace. Again, Texas Hold'em, you play the best 5 cards in any order.
Right.
It was interesting to see that. Did you leave from Vegas on Monday or Tuesday?
I left when I got knocked out, so
Okay.
that would have been Monday night. I think I left about 11 p.m.
Okay. I left on Tuesday, but I didn't go back to the Rio on Tuesday. But that event I know on Tuesday was one of the new events, which was a 6-handed no
Right.
limit. It was like a short-handed no
Yeah.
limit tournament.
I would have liked to play
Which I
that,
thought
but
was
I mean, I
interesting.
had to pick and choose which ones I thought were my best events.
And I think that was a $2,500 buy-in too, so it's a little pricey. Ace King 8 on the flop, 2 clubs, Queen of Hearts on the turn. And this has just been limped around here.
I got there, Tony.
Maury says he's got there.
He
got
does.
the 5.
5 is good.
Lizette and Maury were blinds that hand, and Tony called with 4-9 offsuit on the field. Maury takes it down with a pair of 5s.
You must have, yeah. $3.
Again, questions, comments, suggestions, email us at liveatthebike.com. Post up some comments on our on the 2+2 thread that is that we monitor during the show.
Vicky and Hank. Hank and Vicky, yeah.
Five players.
Tony is not in the hand there in seat 3. Wow. Ace 3-4 on the flop. 2 hearts. Maury's got top pair. He's going to bet it right out with Ace 7. Grace calls the gut shot wheel draw, and C2 is going to raise up with a flush draw and a pair.
Lizette, she just
She 3-bets. Like I said, Lizette's a
she
very
does have the
aggressive
best
player.
hand, yeah.
Well, now Grace is out.
Yeah.
C2 is going to cap it with a flush draw and a pair.
3 players.
And there's the flush, Shirley.
Check.
Well, Lizette with Ace 8 offsuit. Guy has capped it now. He'd capped it on the flop. You don't have a heart redraw. I gotta say, if Lizette calls, Maury's probably gonna muck, and then if Lizette mucks, Maury's probably gonna call. And see how Maury mucks here.
Yeah.
With this, and he had the 7 of hearts in his hand too. River's a queen. See 2 bets. And now it's just getting worse and worse for Lizette.
I'm really surprised that she did that.
Flush is going to take it down.
Plummet. Thank you, Plummet. Plummet. I got a bad card in the brown deck.
I mean, if you're going to play Ace 8 offsuit from the button, the reason why you play a weak hand like that is because you have position and you can see the action in front of you.
Uh-huh.
So when a guy shows a lot of strength and then bets into the flush card on the turn, the point of having now Ace 8 on the button, well, now I can hopefully safely muck, especially without a heart draw. I mean, that's the point of why you would play like a hand like Ace 9, Ace 8 off on the button. So I'm not quite sure why she called all the way down there.
Yeah.
Raise it. Sorry, babe.
I get a question that I'm going to answer here from
4 players.
someone who's posted up on 2+2 after this hand. Jack 8-8, 2 diamonds on the flop. Seat 4's got a flush draw. And Grace, of course, has got pocket 9. She bets. Seat 3 and Seat 4 both have flush draws. Well,
C1 now has the full house.
I was going to say, if you're drawing to flush draws now and you've got three of a kind,
Yeah.
you really should get away from your draw. So now C4 calls, and I think that's a big mistake, Shirley, for C4
Yeah,
to
I
call.
think so too.
Wow, look at that.
The board's going to play.
But Tony has bet all the way here. But Grace,
You win my full house.
you know what? The board is going to play.
It is going to
Yep.
play. It's
Yep.
a great bet by Tony. He might
Yep.
get one person to lay down and chop it 2 ways instead of 3. There we go. One lay down.
Grace
Now
is
they
gonna
chop
call.
2 instead of 3.
Turn up your cards, Tony. There you go. Wow. That is just unbelievable. Again, we're looking at 8s full of jacks on the board. Beats 8s full of 9s in Grace's hand.
Yeah.
So Tony played that hand very, very aggressively. He looks a little puzzled as to why it was a chop, but they're playing the same cards. But, if you're there in seat 4 there, Shirley, and you're drawing for a flush, and there's 3 of a kind on the board,
Yeah.
you need to get away from your straight or flush draw right away at that point.
On the river? Oh, I think on the river he should have called.
No, on the turn.
Yes. But once he called the turn on that river when it's a full house, he should have called.
Absolutely. On the river, he should have called. I'm saying that the call on the turn was a mistake on a flush draw. And then he basically didn't call when the board played
Right.
at the end there.
Diamond would come. Yeah. 2 cards I couldn't buy.
Diamond would come. It wouldn't be any good for you guys. Grace would win.
Right.
So anyways, I got a question here from Black Rain. He says, I have recently, this is on 2+2, he said, I've recently just started playing Limit Hold'em. I was wondering if the commentators or anyone else could further comment on why you shouldn't play 7-7 and below and suited aces in early position. Does this apply to really loose games where you have 5 or 6 players seeing the flop? And you're probably getting correct pot odds to try and catch a set or a flush draw? Well, no, it doesn't apply to those games. In a game where it's really loose passive, Shirley, where you have a lot of people on the flop, where the pots are unraised, I think that you can sometimes come in with those hands.
But I still think in early position it's not a good thing because you don't know if the people behind you are going to
Right.
come, and you don't know if
Right.
you have the odds to hit it.
And I don't really think that this is necessarily super, super loose passive. We've got some players that are going to raise up. Especially if you're sitting in seat 2 or 3, you've got Lizette behind you, you've got Mr. Kim behind you. They're going to raise on the flop. I don't want to take ace-3 suited to a raise in early position pre-flop. Deuce-3 queen. Look at this. Tony bets right. It looks like Tony check called there. Mr. Kim and bet. Mr. Kim bets again with the ace-jack. Wow, Tony's going to call with ace-8. No hearts in the hand. And wow, look at this. A 4th heart. And Tony bets, and he's going to take it down. Look at that, Shirley. What a bluff. And he shows the bluff. He shows the bluff. Oh, Mr. Kim in seat 5.
It was a hard call. I mean, it's almost impossible to call that.
Yeah, well,
he
you
only
don't have
had
any
ace high.
pair.
He didn't even have a pair,
Yeah.
let alone a heart.
Next time I surprise you.
But, if you're talking about maybe like a 3-6 game or a 4-8 game where everyone's just calling on the flop, then maybe you might, can call with small pairs in early position.
I don't think so.
Suited
See,
aces.
I mean, if you're playing those you're looking to hit the set. And, if you don't hit the set, those hands are impossible to play.
Well, I think the thing about playing a pocket pair is, you hit your set or your release. In a mid-limit, which is this is considered a mid-limit game, mid to high-limit game, I would strongly suggest not playing low pocket pairs or suited aces in early position.
I would suggest it in all games.
Ace, queen, king. Seat 4 there, he's got up and down, ace, queen. And he's checked, and he's going to check raise. And wow, the button calls with deuce-3 suited.
2 players.
I mean, if you're going to put a bet in and you get check raised, it's tough. And now he's picked up a wheel draw. Ace queen's going to bet in again, and the button's going to call. So we're just looking at ace queen against
bad,
deuce 3.
yeah. Looking for a 5.
Oh, there it is, Shirley. A 5 comes on the river. Unbelievable.
I swear the way we commentate, you would think we fixed this deck.
And he just calls. Oh, he looked like he just called there on the river.
He has deuce 3.
Unbelievable. Well, I think the guy was all in, so I couldn't tell if there was a raise or not, but why wouldn't you raise on the river when you get there? But that is just unbelievable. And that's what seat 4 is saying. How can you be in there? You get check raised on the flop. How do you call with deuce 3 of diamonds with an ace, queen, king flop? You've got a backdoor diamond draw. But my goodness. Wow.
Or backdoor straight draw.
That is amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Two bigs.
Well, Shirley, by trade here at the bike, you are technically a. I know usually you just play mostly the no limit games, but you are a green chip prop, right?
Right.
So you play in
A
some
green chip, too.
$2
Those of you who don't know,
right.
they're $2 chips, and that means I play like the 6-12 limits
Right.
and the 8-16 limits.
I gotta say, you definitely probably see some better play at 6-12 than you have been seeing at this table, right?
I think so.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 6-7 queen here, 2 spades. You just gotta love these California games. And I can tell you, I was playing 30-60 at the Bellagio, though, and I loved that game, too, last week. So
Was it good?
yeah,
Yeah.
it was. C2's got pocket aces here. Tony's raised with top pair, and he's going to get 3-betted. The turn is a king. It's going to give Tony a flush draw, but the way tonight's been going, you'd think he's probably going to make it. So he's got top pair with the flush draw. Oh, the river's a 6 of diamonds. And he's going to call all the way down, and ace is up, is going to take it.
Yeah, see, Bart, you say he's probably going to make it. He's not going to make
Well.
it. It's going everything opposite of what we're saying. If you say he shouldn't be in that pot, he would hit it.
C2 takes down a big pot there.
Thank you, Blair.
What's that? Oh, he would have flopped his set. I forgot there was an 8.
You know, when you have a pair and a draw, a flush draw, you know, Tony had a lot of outs there at the end. He could have 2-paired up, trips, or a club. Would have made his hand.
Right.
I mean, that's why it's a very, very strong hand to have a pair and a draw. Looks like seat 4 is...
Gabriel, he left,
He
and
left.
Tony is going to move from seat 3 to seat 4.
Seat 2 feels like he's on a roll there. Albert, he's going to raise with ace-jack. Tony calls with 9-3 suited. And we see Vicky in there for one of the first times tonight. Wow, look at this. Tony picks up 2 pairs right on the flop. 6-9-3. And he checks it. It didn't look like he bet. It's kind of like a slow play fever. And now Vicky picks up a diamond draw.
3 chips, all in.
And seat 2 hits an ace.
You need a check? Go ahead.
Okay, do you want to bet?
I raise.
He moved them over. Okay.
And,
so
yep.
$6.
And now C2 bets on the turn.
But I only see 3 chips.
And Tony raises. Tony actually kind of added.
There we go. Well, C2 had only bet three chips, but the bet is 6 chips.
Right, the bet's 6
and
chips
Tony
now.
had said raise, so then it went back to him. He had to stick the 6 chips in.
Right.
You bet, he raised.
What happened was he bet on a turn. So,
Now Vicky's got to realize, she's got to figure out the odds. Do you even have odds to call here with a flush draw? Because the pot wasn't that big. Now you're facing a double-sized bet on the turn.
Yeah.
I don't think she has the odds. I think she should lay it down, and she does lay it down. Well, at least it's a good raise there by Tony on the turn. He slow played the flop. River's an 8 of hearts. Ace-jack checks. He's going to check call, and Tony's going to take it down with 3-9, 2 pairs. Action at this table.
How many aces you get? Stop it.
Sometimes, you know, you make that play that Tony did there, and I don't know if I'm necessarily going to give credit to Tony for doing that, but sometimes you make the play of not betting or not raising to keep the pot small. He popped it up double on the turn, and now a flush draw doesn't have odds to call.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if you will bet or, you know, raise on the flop, it's going to automatically get checked to you on the turn, and you can't make it that double raise.
Yeah.
So, Gracie's got pocket aces here in seat 1. She raises. Albert's going to call with a king 4 suited in seat 2. And Lizette's in there on the button. Wow, Lizette calling with ace 9 off suit. Very surprising. 6, queen, 7, 2 clubs. Grace is going to bet. Lizette calls there. She's going to backdoor nut club draw. An overcard.
3 players.
This isn't the game that I'm normally used to seeing Lizette play.
She seems a little frazzled tonight. The 5 comes on the turn. 5 of hearts. And now Maury does a, he makes a bet here, and it kind of slows. Did Grace raise? Grace raised. Okay. Now Maury's, making that move where if you're going to call, why not bet? Because he's got a straight draw. It looked like there, and he misses it, and he's just got a pair. He had a pair and a straight draw there, surely, so he bet the turn.
Yeah.
And Grace made a nice raise with aces, and she takes it down.
Thank you, Grace.
A lot of times it freezes people in Limit Hold'em when someone from up front will bet into you on the turn, seemingly like a card that might have given them 2 pair or something. Well, they might not necessarily have 2 pair. They might be making that move where they've picked up a draw now. They're going to call anyway, so they're betting.
Right.
So sometimes you're going to raise with an overpair for value, especially if it's the player behind you.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the raise there by Grace on the turn.
Okay, I can almost say for certainty now Lizette is not on her game. She just called with queen 9 of clubs.
Well, if it was unraised and she's in position, I don't necessarily mind the limp there.
Okay.
She's on the cutoff seat, and there are
I
4 limpers
understand
ahead
that part,
of her.
but I've never seen her play like that. I was just stating that it's not her game.
2 players.
Grace is bet here with the 8, and Tony's raised with top pair with the jack. And it looks like Grace is check called. Tony's got a best hand here. 10 of clubs on the river. And he brought a 1 card straight to the board there. Tony checked it down. Tony's going to take it down with the jack. He wins another one.
Thank you, sir.
I mean, I think we've all been there before, Shirley, when you're running bad, you tend to play, it can affect your play. Play some hands that you don't necessarily will play.
Yes.
Make some moves. I can tell you that I've never seen Lizette cold call a raise with the ace-9.
Right.
Like she did before, last hand.
Woman.
Even if the raise was coming from Grace. But, when she's really on her game, you might see her 3-bet there.
Right.
Try to take control of the hand, but...
Just don't sing.
You can see, you can still see.
Looks like this pot's going to get chopped around.
You have a monster hand? Okay, I call.
Oh, C2, I guess, doesn't chop.
I thought they chopped earlier.
I thought so, too.
Yeah, they must like their hands this time, which is kind of not the right thing to do. Either you chop or you don't. That's it.
3-9-4 on the flop, 2 diamonds. Check, check. Turn is a 9. Check, check. River's an ace. C2's going to take it down with the king. Shirley, I was also telling you, and I think you said earlier that you didn't know, but I was looking at Card Player's website.
Tony.
If everyone in internet land wants to go out there, if you go to Card Player's website and you look at the, they have daily photos. On Monday, you were one of the photos. They took a bunch of pictures of people, and you were one of them on Monday. So if people want to go,
I don't know if it was that. Was it that website or was it the World Series Poker website?
It was.
Because the World Series Poker also has some pictures on it.
Oh yeah.
Somebody else came up and told me that they saw a picture of me. I said it wasn't good. He said no, it wasn't good. But he saw one from another place that he's got to get the website for me. That he said was really good, where Steve had got busted out in front of me, and the table behind me was empty. So Steve was sitting at the table behind me, and it had like a picture of me, and then off to the side it had Steve, and off to the side it had one of the guys that are filming the documentary on me, they didn't have the cameras there, but they were sitting behind me, so had all of us in there.
See one of seat 2's cards, and it's a 10 of clubs. I don't know what the other card is. And anyways, Lizette only had ace-jack, and she mucked here on the bet. He had 10-4, so he bet on a 4. Rabbit cam shows a king. He had the 10 of clubs and a 4 of diamonds. He called Lizette's raise there. 10-4 in the small blind. Ended up flopping on the best hand.
Yes, sir. Small blind. Big blind. You want that?
So it looks like Tony didn't move over, so we have a new player in seat 4.
When
We'll
you're
give his
talking,
name.
when you're talking about Steve, who are you exactly talking about for the people that don't know?
Oh, right. Steve Badger is a personal friend. He's kind of like my mentor. He's taught me how to play poker for the last 7 years.
Like a coach, your poker coach?
Kind of. He's just, my best friend. He's wonderful to me. He's a pain in the ass, but he still is wonderful to me. And sat there and watched me play.
King, queen, 10 here on the flop. 2 clubs. Look at that. It looked like Hank bet with pocket deuces on that flop. That's a Grace-esque move there, Shirley, and he gets called in 2 spots. The turn is a 3 of clubs.
Check.
And it looks like seat 2 has got the best hand with 4-10 here. No one's got a club here that's still in. Seat 4 is out of the hand. Tony's got ace-3. That's no good. Seat 2's going to take it down with 4-10. And he wins another pot.
Okay.
New player there in seat 4. That's Ben.
Right. And we also got the new chip counts for the 7 o'clock hour. Seat number 1, Grace, has $2,000. Seat 2, Albert, has $1,600. Seat 3, Tony, has $1,000. Ben in seat 4, he bought in for $1,490. I guess he posted, so he's $1,500 or something like that. Seat 6, Mr. Kim, $1,100. Seat 7. Wait, I got that wrong. Mr. Kim has $2,500. Lizette has $1,100. Seat 7, Vicky has $3,000. Seat 8, Hank has $1,600. And seat 9, Maury has $2,600.
Grace has come in for a raise here with ace-7 suited. Tony is cold called with ace-4. Look at that, and he flops a 4. Unbelievable. Grace bets, Tony calls. Grace in seat 1, Tony in seat 3. This is a 6 comes on the turn. Grace checks, Tony bets, Grace calls. Wow, the river's an ace, and this one's going to get chopped. Tony got counterfeited, aces and 6s with the king, and it's going to be a split pot. Justice prevails, I guess.
Yeah.
I know.
So the big winner so far is Albert in seat 2. We've seen him play a little bit, some questionable hands. But at the 6 o'clock hour, he had $300 in chips, and now he has $1,600 in chips. So he's made $1,300 in this hour. Actually, it looks like he has more than close to $2,000 there.
I'm telling you, I would not doubt it.
Sometimes, Shirley, we see people come on with like jackets and ties on the show for different reasons. Maybe the guy's coming from work. Maybe he's a 2+2 or an ITH guy trying to show off.
And he wants to come and make himself look good.
Yep.
players.
Four-way action here. 7, 6, 10, 2 spades. Doesn't look like anyone's even flopped
No
a
one
pair
has a
here.
pair.
Gets checked around. Turn is an ace. It's going to give Hank the best hand in seat 8, and he bets right out. Mr. Kim calls there with a gut shot straight draw. 8 of spades.
Check.
Well, you know, it's funny that I saw Hank just do that. He checked, and then he made like he was going to call
He was gonna
regardless.
call no matter what, right?
Well, the thing is that if you're checking to induce a bluff, why would you want to do that? I mean, he could have been scared of the spade. I remember having a discussion with Kenna James when he was on here, you know, about, well, if you bet a hand that you think is the best hand the whole way and then the flush card comes on the river, what do? He says bet into the river, and if you get raised, hopefully you're good enough to muck, because you can get paid off by a lot of hands that are second best, whereas if you just check it down, you lose the value. Now, in that case, it wouldn't have mattered, but just interesting to see how Hank said, I was going to call anyways, and stuck his chips out there.
So they're asking about the show tomorrow.
Ah,
Bart.
yes, the programming note that I never finished off. Thank you, Kevin Math on 2+2 for reminding me.
All right, well, let me look. Maybe it's a really good one. There we go.
I will mention that at the end of this hand.
Yeah, see, I don't want to mention it. I signed up for the. I signed up to play, and they have me confused in here whether I'm in the wrong game.
Look at this. Grace has re-raised with pocket sevens.
So much for
Out of
our
the big
small
blind.
pocket pair theory
Well, she
here.
was
We've
in-
got deuces here, too.
She was in the big blind.
Yeah, but, I mean, she is really out of position.
6, Jack, 9. Kim was the original raiser with Ace King, I believe, in seat 5. Grace fires in, and it looks though she has the best hand, and she's got the best draw
Yeah,
with the
she
7 of
does.
diamonds. But look at this. Tony raises with pocket deuces with the deuce of diamonds. Kim's out. Turn is a jack. You're not going to bet Grace out of this
No,
hand,
you're not.
so it's
He needs a deuce.
the river's a 4. And it gets checked down. Grace is going to take it down with jacks and 7s. Programming note tomorrow is we are going to be doing, and I'm about 99% sure of this. I know sometimes we say these things and it changes, but we're going to be doing a shootout, a $500 shootout,
Right.
no limit shootout, one table shootout.
Right.
You have entered.
Yes, I bought in already.
I know for a fact that Mo is going to be in there. Jonas, Gore, some of the usual characters that we see from Friday night. I think they already have 7 confirmed.
It looks like there was about
Names,
that, 7
so.
or 8. So I know Gore, Mo, Damon, me were 4 of the names up there.
Wow, look at this. Tony's raised. It looked like Tony raised with Jack 9. Mr. Kim's got Ace King in seat 5. He 3 bets. And Hank in seat 8's got pocket kings. He caps. Tony acts out of turn there. Seat 2 is still in the hand. Can't imagine that he'd call 4 bets with 7-10 off suit.
I'm not in the hand, sweetie. It's just people are acting for you.
And we're going to see 4-way action. Look at this. Seat 4's in there with 3-7 of diamonds. Wow. 9-5-9. Tony flops trips right away, and he checks him. Mr. King bets with overcards. Hank raises with kings. And Tony's going to check raise 3-bet with
now
Jack
what
9.
the heck's 7-3 going to do?
Well,
He's gonna
7-3's got a
call.
flush draw. What an unbelievable hand. Mr. Kim is out with Ace King, and
Let's
chances
see how many
are
ways everyone screwed up this hand.
chances are Hank's going to lose again with an overpair. Turn is a 6. That's going to give seat 4 additional outs. He's got a gut shot and a diamond draw. And Hank says he has 2 outs, but he only has one out because Mr. Kim had a king. And the river's a 7. And Tony with Jack 9.
Oh, there's a 4-card straight
There's
out there
4-card
now.
straight, but he's still going to bet in there. And look at this, 7 calls. I guess it's a value call, he thinks. And now, I don't know.
No,
you know,
I
Hank
don't get that.
he overcalls with an overpair.
Not with that one.
Yeah.
Hank said, I have 2 outs. He knew he was beat, and yet he still called.
Yeah.
He overcalled.
Yeah. mean, unless you think that Tony's check raise 3-betting with a 5 on the flop there, I don't know how I could call.
Yeah.
You know, at the end there.
It's
And
not
Tony
so much
takes down
that,
a
in my
big-
opinion. It's the
big hand
overcall.
again. Yeah, the overcall, exactly.
Yeah.
You got to get it, like you said, you get a 4-liner straight,
Right.
2 9s on the board, and you've got an overpair. What do you beat?
Yeah.
You know, not much, right?
No, 10 minutes. No. Back.
Raise.
Three-way action here. Seat 2, 3, and 4. Four, 7, 8 on the flop. Seat 4 is going to put in a position bet here. Queen 9 of diamonds.
Where is it?
And Tony,
Is-
he's got a, looks to be a gut shot straight
yeah,
draw.
he's
So
9 high.
He's check raised the gut shot straight draw. 3 comes on the turn, and that's going to give C2 a flush draw. Tony's going to bet again. Again, he needs a 6 to complete a straight. Seat 4 mucks.
And if Tony bets on the river, if that heart doesn't get here, he might pick up this pot.
Yeah, Tony, don't shut down here on the river, buddy. He doesn't.
He's got it.
Look at that. And Tony doesn't show the bluff. Boy, and he continues to stack chips.
Well, you deserve this again.
Wow.
Because
The only way that he could have won that was by betting it on the river, and he bet.
very lucky. It is very good. Love and focus balance.
Raise.
Maury's going to come in with a raise. He's got big slick ace king offsuit. And here's another one of these hands, Shirley. Like I said, you can peg at certain types of players. Grace has called Maury's raise with ace 10 offsuit, a cold call. That is a clear 3-bet or fold hand. I just cannot.
Well, that's not
it's-
even a 3-bet hand against Maury.
No, absolutely not. It's a muck
That's
hand
a-
again against Maury.
Right.
Ace 10 offsuit is just not a good hand. And when you see people cold calling with that hand, it's just. Look at this. Tony leads into this flop. Queen 6 deuce. He's got a pair of 6s. And Maury mucks. But look, Grace calls with ace 10. Maury mucks the ace king, but Grace calls with ace 10.
Right.
The turn's a 9. It goes check, check on the turn. A deuce comes on the river. And Tony's going to take it down with 5-6. Wow. We can just, I mean, you can just tell right there the way that,
Thank you.
you know, that hand played out. Maury mucks the ace king. Grace
Right.
calls with ace 10.
Right.
I hope not. I hope not.
Ace 10 offsuit is just one of those trap hands where sometimes people think it looks so good, but it's really so weak, right? It really does not have a lot of value.
Well, not calling value, that's for sure.
No.
Four players.
4-way action here. Pot's been limped around. Deuce, 3, 10. Zet is going to bet here with a flush draw. And Tony calls with a, guess, a backdoor flush draw, king 8. Seat 4's in there with bottom pair. And now Seat 4's hit 2 pairs, but Lizette's hit the flush. This is just
And
unbelievable.
Tony has, the king high flush draw.
Let's see. C4 thinks he's going to get clever by. He's going to check raise with a 3-hearted board out here, but Lizette's got the flush. Let's see if she re-raises. No, she's just going to call. And Tony's still in there with king 8. Well, he's got the king of hearts to draw to, while the river's a queen of diamonds. And deuce 9 bets. Lizette calls. And Lizette's going to take it down with the flush.
Tony, what are you thinking
Tony,
about?
you only have king high, buddy. Wow.
Well, I can almost say that his suit is not representative of 2+2.
Yeah, I was going to actually say the same thing. It popped into my... I think that
He's
Lizette...
not coming from there.
I think Lizette made a mistake there, though. I think if I got check raised... you know, I don't have the highest flush, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think I probably would have 3-betted a check raise.
Oh,
now,
I wouldn't know.
the chances that 2 flushes come out are pretty slim.
Yeah.
And, you know, I guess we haven't seen a lot of that guy show down hands in seat 4, so maybe she was a
Right.
little bit scared there. But make Tony pay for that King of Hearts, you know, at the end.
Okay.
You know?
That makes sense. But she's got to question whether her hand is good. 7 high flush with 2 other people in the pot and someone check raising.
Jack 10-3 of hearts here. Tony's picked up top pair. He's going to bet. Jack 9. And now seat 4, I guess he's trying to get real creative. He's raised with bottom pair. Worst kicker. 6 on the turn. Tony checks. Button bets. Tony doesn't realize what good shape he's in right now with Jack 9. And now he's hit trips. Let's see if he check. No, he's trying to check raise the river there, I'm sure. And deuce 3 checked right behind him. And he doesn't show down that hand again, Shirley. People see what he had, you know, he's got deuce 3 off suit. Everybody's welcome at the bike. I'd say drive down here in Groves for anywhere, you know, within 30, 40 miles. We've got another 2.5 hours on the show, so why not come down? It looks like the action players on the table are the ones winning the most money, so it's not like
Yeah, that's a good thing.
you know, it's not like the table's going to break anytime soon.
Nice try.
Yeah, that's true. Seat 4's been an action player, and he's losing his butt.
Well, you got 4-way action here. Limped around. Deuce King 3, now an 8 comes on the turn. Doesn't look like anyone has a pair.
Now seat 7 does.
Chaka Brown.
It's Vicky.
Vicky's going to take it down with the queen.
Would you mind your glass?
Thank you.
Taylor makes sale on Gucci at sale.
What?
Gucci has a sale.
Oh, really? Right, Bellagio? Or you, I thought you were there drive.
I think on all Gucci's.
Not necessarily.
No?
Not. Oh, Vegas, they always have sale.
Oh, yeah?
Vegas always have sales. But the one here is there drive now.
I think Grace and Lizette are talking about which Gucci store she got her sunglasses in. There's one on Rodeo Drive. I know there's one in the Beverly Center, too,
They're
I
talking
think.
about one in Vegas.
And then there's one on the
So
Bellagio in
that's
Vegas.
what the people watching live at the bike get to look forward to on Table Talk. Find out where to shop.
3-way action here. Turn is a 4 of hearts. Lizette is betting with absolutely nothing. I guess she's trying to take, you know, advantage of her position. The thing is, you got to pick your spot. Wow, she got seat 4 to muck the hand. So you got to pick your spots better because I wouldn't be making stone cold bluffs against those 2 guys in seat 3 and seat 4.
3
you know?
and 4, yeah.
But she takes down the pot. What do I know?
Let me know.
Oh, yuck. They put the picture on 2+2. A link to the picture. Now you
Of
got to see
the
this
card
nasty
player.
thing. Yeah.
It's not a bad picture.
Well, that's Jennifer Herman. That looks better than me. Okay.
You definitely have a unique way of sitting at the table, Shirley. I don't know if you're perched up on your knees or what, but
Sometimes I sit like that, yeah.
Grace looked like to have an ace king, and she took it down. That's not too bad.
Yeah, not bad. I'm looking a little serious. That was on my low stack right there.
Yeah, it was. That's why when you
I
told
was
me
down
today,
to 200 chips. I felt it
Yeah.
up to 10,500 by the break.
Raise.
Hank is going to raise here. He's got ace-king offsuit from the button. Grace calls with 4-10 suited. Tony's in there with king-6 offsuit, limped in with an early position. Jack 3-4. Look at this. Grace bets with second pair. You know, sometimes I like Hank's game, sometimes I don't. If I have ace-king here, well, now he's picked up a club draw. The turn is an 8 of clubs.
Chips and 4.
Grace checks.
This might get him a free card. Oh.
I would take that free card in a
Ooh,
heartbeat.
Grace folded
but
her
look at
pair.
that. Grace
He's
folds
going to
the
pick up
pair.
this pot. See,
Again,
what the hell do we know?
Again, what do we know there? Aggressive play takes it down, but I got to say I would have taken the free card there, especially against
Because,
those two
yeah,
players.
right.
You know, and I've seen Hank time and time do that again. Like he'll raise with overcards. Now, in a tough game where someone might muck
Lay
a weak
down.
jack,
Yeah.
then fine.
That's a great
but
move.
but in this game with against those players.
Right.
You know, you're pretty much building up the pot with the worst hand at that time, I think.
Uh-huh.
You know, a case could be made, well, ace-king might be the best hand at that time, but, again, I wonder if he would have done that if he didn't have the king of clubs in his hand. It all depends. I see four-way action here. 3, 5, 9, 2 spades. Seat 2 looks to have the best hand here with 5-8 offsuit. He bets immediately into the flop. Seat 3 calls with a, looks like a gut shot. Seat 4's in there. Now Seat 4's got a flush draw, ace of clubs on the turn. And it gets checked. He takes the free card. The jack of clubs comes on the river, and king, queen of clubs, and Seat 4 has made the flush. He's got the nut flush. It gets checked to him. He bets. And Grace calls here with jack. And C4 is going to take it down with the king high flush.
Queen spades. Exposed. Three players. 4 players.
Four-way action here.
Whatever.
Deuce, jack, 6 on the flop. It's rainbow.
I thought he said, what's her name and what's his name?
Three-way action now. Tony's got top 2 pairs. Look at this. Seat 4 is calling with a gut shot straight draw. He's picked up a spade draw now on the turn, 3-4 spades. And he does not make his draw. Mr. Kim is out in seat 5. And Tony's going to take it down there with jack 10.
Oh, God. That's not funny.
Can you get a setup?
Sure.
You have to
Set up
You
for
missed it. You're 2 minutes late.
No, it's 7:40, right, Tommy? Thank you. 7:40, 7:30.
Set up either.
You know, Shirley, everyone has their own pet peeves at a table about what players do. Mine's really people asking for setups. I just think it is the absolute biggest waste of time.
I totally
There-
agree with you on that,
It
yeah.
really bothers me sometimes, especially if I'm happening to have a bad day.
Uh-huh.
I still kind of like him, too.
Tony has a 3-betted
Yeah, I just...
seat 2's raise with ace queen, and he's bet the flop, and he's going to take it down. And Tony's on a roll there in seat 3. I like I just don't believe in luck of the cards. I don't have favorite hands. I don't have superstitious hands.
Right.
Setups are just...
It's the same 52 cards in the deck,
it's
right.
just such a waste.
Did you...
It
have you
lowers
ever,
my hands per hour down. That's why it bothers me. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like having a slow dealer in a tournament.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes I get frustrated with that,
that's
too, especially in a
frustrating.
satellite, too.
You have only... Right. A
you know?
satellite's even worse. You have 15 minutes for
Yeah.
a round, and
Yeah.
they're dealing off... Well, in Omaha, sometimes it's
Oh, in
like,
Omaha, it's just... Give me a real nightmare.
Have you ever read my Pet Peeves article on my website? Because I do mention setups as one of mine.
I know
My
one
pet
of your
peeves.
other pet peeves is saying when somebody says, I put you
I
all
put
in.
you all in.
right?
Yeah, that's right. Or when someone asks to see my cards.
What's your job again?
Or asks the dealer,
Well,
I want to see all cards.
Of course, I think that's something that's abused
That
on
I-
a constant basis
Right.
because that rule is there to prevent collusion, and people just abuse that rule, over and over.
Run
and
out
over.
of James.
Okay.
Okay, I have a question from In Marson. We got sent to us on email. And he asked if I prefer limit or pot limit tournaments for Omaha High-Low. I played limit. And then he asked if Carlos Warrenson made the money, and yes, he did make the money in the tournament that I was in.
King 6-4 on the flop.
Don't forget.
The turn is an 8.
I was including you as a whole.
Seat 8. Hank is going to bet in with pocket 7s. And he looks to have the best hand here.
It's from Miami, so it's on the East Coast.
Is Tony going to continue to call here with ace-9? No, he mucks. And wow, C4 mucks ace-6. Lizette, though, is in there with ace-4. She's got a club draw now, and she hits trips on the river. And she's going to bet right in here.
Same place.
And Hank had been betting all the way with pocket 7s. Let's see what he does here. And he's going to call. And Lizette's going to take it down with ace-4.
And Glendale, of course.
Well, it's an interesting question there from M. Marson with regards to limit and pot limit in terms of when we're talking about Omaha. Pot limit Omaha High-Low really isn't played a lot in this country, and there is no tournament in the World Series for it.
Right.
I don't like the game myself because I think
it's a totally different game.
I think the low kills a lot of the. I think that the low, it kills a lot of the action, or you have to commit a lot of chips sometimes to your low. It is a different game. There's different hand requirements and stuff like that. I think pot limit high is obviously a better game, or limit high-low. I think that's my opinion. I don't know what your opinion is. Multi-way action here again. Looks like 5 ways. Grace has looked like she limped in with deuce 3 of hearts. She's picked up a heart draw. Seat 2 was the razor with ace-king. He's going to bet.
C3 called with ace-3.
Yeah.
Not that should shock me.
The 8 comes on the turn. And that seat 4 there, he had a pair. Now he picks up again, an open-ended straight draw to the bottom end that we talk about there, Shirley. With
He
5,
does now,
6.
yeah. But he does actually have the best hand with
he's
a pair
got
of
pair of
sixes.
sixes. The river is a 3. And now the question is he gonna look at this? Ace King is bet the entire way. The entire way. And Grace, we know she likes to call down a lot of hands. She's just made bottom pair here. And are we gonna finally see her lay down a hand when she actually has the best hand now? Oh wow. The guy has bet all the way with ace king, 5-6 laid down the hand, and she's gonna lay down the hand. Unbelievable. And I know we give her a lot of heat sometimes because she calls down way too many hands, and that time she had the goods there at the end and she laid it down. Wow. I really can't fault her for making that lay down, though, Shirley, but it's just sometimes it's a crazy game, and I'm sure she's gonna hate herself when she ever watches the archives and sees that hand, how that hand played out. Well, you know, when you've got 3 players in the hand, it's very rare that you're going to see someone with the balls to bet ace-king on all 3 streets. You know what I mean? Because the only chance he's got is if someone folds, or
Right.
unless he's had the best hand the whole way.
Right.
You know, if both people fold.
And he got
so.
2 people to fold that.
Yeah.
7 play.
I think the dealer said 7-way action. 9, king, 8. Grace has flopped the flush. Oh, Grace is not in the hand. 3, 10 of
Great.
clubs.
Yeah, Grace
Yep.
would have flopped a flush.
Yep. And Tony's going to bet out on the king. He's got king 10. Mr. Kim raises. Mr. Kim's got bottom 2 pairs. Maury calls with ace 10. He's got the nut club draw. And seat 9. Tony calls. 3-way action. Seat 3 is out of the hand. Oh, seat 3 is in the hand. Tony's got... He's going to check here. Mr. Kim bets. Maury's still in there with that club draw. River's a 5. Boy, Mr. Kim had to dodge a lot of cards
Yes,
there
he did.
at the end. Tony's going to call him all the way down with the top pair. Mr. Kim's going to take it down with 8-9.
No jack.
Boy, Maury had that club draw. He had
Jack draw.
He had a straight draw, as well as Tony. You know, Mr. Kim had to dodge a club or a jack there.
A king or a 10.
Yeah, and a king or a 10, too. You know they play a lot of pot limit high-low in Europe, right?
Yes.
I think as a cash game. I don't know if I've ever seen it spread as a cash game in this country, in a brick-and-mortar casino.
No, I haven't.
I mean, it's online.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
I've seen it online.
I know that party spreads, 400, 600 max buy-in, 1,000 max buy-in, pot limit game.
Where is it?
Maury's bet here. Looked like Maury bet on bottom pair to get some information. C2 raised him with the ace, and Maury quickly mugs.
Yes.
I like to bet. Like I said, I think it's very powerful to bet from an early position with an ace on board if you have any type of draw, or maybe even any pair. Because it's, ace is a scare card. Difficult for somebody to call who doesn't have an ace. Especially if you're a solid player like Maury.
Right, right.
But it looked like he got the information he was looking for, and he mugged.
Raise.
Tony's limped in with a 4-9 of spades, and Lizette has raised. She's got ace-king offsuit. Seat 2's called with ace-4. And I was going to say, wow, look at that. The only card really, Tony's going to be able to catch here easily is a 9.
And
he
hit.
caught it.
Yep.
Because the 4 is being shared. And it gets checked. It looks like Lizette bet, but now the ace comes, and seat 2 is going to bet with ace-4. He bets with top pair.
I'm sure Lisette will put in a raise here.
Well,
No, not with 3 hearts out there.
Third heart comes there.
Yeah, I missed that.
River is a 7. And now it looks like finally Tony's going to muck. I was going to say this is a situation where I would overcall with ace-king with Tony in between me.
Right.
Because I can't give him a lot of credit for necessarily having a better hand than ace-king. Lizette's going to take this one down with ace-king. The very pretty Lizette there in seat 6.
Yeah, she's getting some fans on 2+2, I saw.
Thank you, you did.
Seems like we have a lot of pretty women that play here, especially on Live at the Bike. And generally just throw around at the bicycle casino.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, that's the first
I think
time.
Russ is ragging on my picture. Russ, I have to agree, that's a pretty ugly picture.
Raise it.
Baby.
No, never.
Oh. All right, I'm sorry. I thought you leave.
Mr. Kim is in there. He's raised with pocket 10s. Well, Tony's in the big blind with the ace-10 offsuit. You got to think he's going to call, and he does. And there's the ace, Shirley, right away.
Yep.
Right away. Look at this. Kim checks right behind Tony. 4 on the turn. Tony checks the turn. Mr. Kim bets. Tony calls. Tony checks again. Mr. Kim bets. And Mr. Kim just, it's the way that hand was played out. I mean, who would check call there with ace-10 after I checked behind him? But that's what Tony did. And Tony takes it down. Kim's going to come in for a raise here again. You got pocket 7s, seat 5. Wow, Button's going to cold call with 4-9 of diamonds.
He's got position.
Yep. Tony's in there with queen 4 offsuit. So we're going to see 3 ways.
7's
wow,
full.
look at this. Mr. Kim's flop 7's full of 6s. He bets. And look at this.
He's
the button
called.
raises. The button raises with
Raises.
4-9 of diamonds. Yeah. He raises. Now how does Kim play it? C4 is out of the hand. And now C3 is out of the hand too. Wow, look at this. Mr. Kim bets the turn, and C2 has picked up a diamond draw, and he is drawing totally dead. Mr. Kim 3 bets. And there is no cap heads up here. And now C2, well, maybe this guy's got pocket 10s. Well, he has pocket 7s.
Now he finally realizes I might be drawn dead here. Took him a little while.
Oh, he's going to call. Looks like it was 4 bets here on the turn.
I think it was 3, yeah.
The river is a 5. And, well, C2, he missed his draw.
Yeah.
So all he has is 9 high.
Pair. Ace king. Ace king. No good. Pair.
Mr. Kim is sitting there with the goods. He's got 7s full of 6s. Gonna pick down a big pot. Well, obviously, Shirley, the only move you can make there on the river is fold or raise, right?
Yeah.
Well, fold, yeah, probably, but...
I show you already my pocket 7.
Any-
So many times, what you are still thinking about what?
Now we see Mr. Kim smile.
You're drawing dead. It's good you missed your flush. Flop the full house.
Did he just say he hit his flush?
You shouldn't have re-raised me. I would have told you. I show you 2-7 already. 7 spade and 7 colors. But you didn't catch it. I knew it. I thought you had to turn.
Lori's going to raise here. He is in the in late position. He's got Jack 9 of hearts. He raises. Tony calls with Ace 8 suited on the button. Seat 4's in there with King Jack offsuit. And Mr. Kim's in there with 7-10 suited. So we're going to see 5-way action.
I was in Tampa.
Ace 8-5.
His flop for Tony.
Look at that. Tony's flopped 2 pairs. Top 2 pairs.
Right around
He
Clearwater.
bets. Maury didn't even take a stab at that one.
You steal everything from me, Tony. Come on.
Wow. Tony doesn't get any
I know you
action.
don't have it. You had a pair. I didn't.
And he shows an 8. Little did they know.
I'm surprised you still speak it. Probably you have no friends.
Big, your big blind, is that? Come on, play. Can we get cocktails back here, please? I'm getting annoyed.
Seat 4, he's the first one in. He's going to raise from the button. He's got pocket fives. You know, it's funny, Shirley. When Vicky first started playing him 30-60 at Live the Bike, you know, I see Vicky every day.
Mm-hmm.
She was none too pleased with some of the commentary I had to say about her, but I have to say I'm going to take a little bit of credit for how tight she's been playing the last few times she's been on the show.
You think she's doing this to please you, Bart?
She's played incredibly tight. Incredibly tight.
Yes, she actually wants to get you out in the game and her in the booth, so
Yeah.
she could badmouth you.
Full body. Okay. 4 players.
Four-way action here, limped around. Deuce, king, king. Seat 4 would have flopped a full house.
Right,
but
that's
he
what I was
mocked.
looking at.
Yep.
2 players.
Vicky's got a flush draw. C2's got a lower flush draw. And it goes check, check. The river is an 8. And Vicky's queen high is going to take it down. Wow. River was actually 8 of hearts, but it's inconsequential. As the queen plays, both players had missed diamond draws.
Right.
Shirley, we're going to go to our table talk portion of the show after this hand.
So you know, huh?
And we're going to see you in play tomorrow.
Playing tomorrow, right.
In our shootout.
It's okay, I don't want to pop for 5 hours.
Limp, limp, limp.
Where is it?
And C2 is going to raise out of the big blind with a suited connector.
5 players.
And we're going to see 5-way action here. Wow, Maury in the small blind has flopped 3 4s, 10-4-4. Kim is going to bet the diamond draw. Maury just calls. Kim's got queen 6 of diamonds. And Tony calls with king 9. So we're going to see 3-way action. The 8 comes on the turn. Let's see if, Maury's going to bet. I was wondering if he was going to wait to see if the flush card didn't come on the turn. And he bets right in.
Want to buy some yellow, dealer?
Yes.
And Kim just calls. Turn is an ace. The river is an ace.
80.
Maury bets. Kim's going to muck. And Maury's going to take it down with 3 4s. So right now we're going to turn the table mic up, and we're going to shut our commentator mics down for the next half an hour. Thanks for joining me tonight, Shirley. I'll be back with Jennifer Bankston in 30 minutes. Please enjoy.
I'll be back in about a month.
Oh, that's right.
I think so.
We'll see you tomorrow night, though, on the show. Playing.
Right.
Please come back and join us in a half an hour. Enjoy tonight's
Spit it out, Bart.
Table talk.
There you go.
Raise it. Re-raise. Jack hearts. Cap it. Cap it. Sit 4. Right, sit 4 cap. Oh, yeah, you're right.
I already called. I wish I had my. I already called before when I saw him put 12 chips. I said, oh, Everybody's out, I guess. Everybody's in there for the ball.
6 players.
6 players? 6 players.
6.
Okay, I thought you said 6. You're online, you can't say that. You know?
Raise it.
3 play. Miss. Sure. 3 games. 3 jacks.
You didn't like the jack when it was
Yeah,
exposed.
somebody opened the jack. Oh shit! No more jack. And put the old club. Another jack. Oh, this is after my paradise.
Thank you.
Nice hand.
Ace king.
Pocket pair.
1280.
Pick one.
No. 1380.
Sit open, young man. Wait. Where are we? Oh, small? Limp? Okay,
I got a raise.
You're welcome. Super special delivery.
You going to get anything in return now?
I can hope. I can dream. Just trying to get her drunk. Just to play with Lucifer. You just get smarter. Hey, did you pair for my
Now I got even money.
yeah, I know. You were stuck. Good run. Nice one. You think so?
Somebody, you opened the jack, right?
No. Not me.
Who drew the jack?
It was
You?
my card.
Should have left your hand after that.
Oh
Yeah, kill your hand.
It was too
Look
late.
at already. He kept it. Oh shit! I lose it.
And Jack
What a
right away.
flop.
I think that somebody have the better pair
Did
than me.
you check the flop?
Huh? No, I laid.
Bad.
Yeah, king two.
Flop I bet. They call
No, you check.
Before flop, no.
You better you
Before
call.
flop, I made the raising. C made the cap, and then
No, I didn't think it's
who made the cap? Somebody made the cap. Or he made the cap.
But then the flop came down.
He lazy. He made the cap.
Yes. And then the flop came
Flop
down.
I bet. Everybody
You
just
call.
call. And turn I bet. She lazy. And leave a bet. She call.
try to give you protection.
To the future of today.
Of today. Race.
Cheers.
We're not making it obvious at all. What are you guys drinking? Check.
It's juice. Hawaii 5-0.
Candy.
Bet.
Race.
You're welcome. Are you married?
Are you? Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Close enough.
Big,
Show
big,
one, show up.
big hand. Thank you. Take one.
Forget Hank, I'm married too.
You're definitely the ugliest prop at the table. There's no question.
Right. We had this discussion before. Mr. Kim takes Grace over me, and I had to send him to an eye doctor.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi. Did you get my message?
Yeah, I got your message, but at 12 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, I fell asleep when I got. Yeah, I fell asleep when I got here.
Right? 7 anyone at 3 bets?
She called me.
How come it's 2 seats over? Yeah, they were coming.
You're talking about the ferry game?
Yeah, last night. They left at 5. Incredible. I'm telling you, after you left at 5 in the morning.
How are you?
Amazing. Back, move to your seat. He left his steps.
Really?
Up. Roberto had
See,
5
I
racks.
didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay, but no one.
You know, Roberto, right? He had 5 racks. He gave it all. Take one. And then he borrowed, you know, the racks. And then he borrowed 500.
When I left, he had 2 racks left.
Gave it all. And he borrowed 500. He went back home.
Take one.
So you could imagine the game. It was half 8-way action.
You take
Every
the
other hand.
That guy raised before he looked at his cards.
The drunk one?
Yeah, the drunk one.
Him and that other Persian guy
There was no Persian.
came to seat 6.
Time to
Persian guy. Really nice. Frank's friend. One action after another.
That was after I left.
race.
Oh, I'm sorry. I called it
4.
first. This is the line I saw.
Check.
Already I am.
I checked. And the 9.
I have 9 too.
Mine is a red 9.
Small blind, big blind. Take big blind.
I know the feelings. I know the feelings.
There's no quality. Race.
Only on top.
Today's too much stuff.
Big pie.
30,000 stuff. 30,000 stuff. Everybody run away. Get money and run away.
I checked my strength.
Great.
Top pair.
You got top pair or straight?
Just top pair. Well, at least top pair.
Top pair out or good?
Race.
My pocket king all the time dead.
3 bets.
Jesus.
3 bets. I have still moved rest on. They have highest rate.
7.
Get 7 highest rate.
That was fast.
I like this my pocket king. All day.
was ahead when I bet. Top pair good. Top pair was good.
This block top pair no good.
I didn't know you'd call with the bet shot.
What do you mean top pair was good? Pocket kings.
Keys you got.
You don't count him as a player?
Second place, I mean.
Yeah.
Strong second place.
But you had a lot of nerves.
But I'm in the small blind, so you guys have to be nervous. Maybe I have at least top pair.
Thank you. Small blind.
That's right. But she said it, he didn't.
Don't mind me. Just raise.
It's all in vain.
Yes. You'll be next time. Okay. Raise. I'm gonna be dropping my big butt.
All my bill are to pay my bill.
3 bets.
Here?
Deal.
No, thanks.
How much?
Check.
Check.
Oh, it's good.
3 months straight.
Check.
Check.
Ew.
Time, please. Don't say that.
Where's the money?
6-2.
That's a beauty.
No, Tony, you're my favorite.
Ace Jack. You second place, man.
Yes. Dear Tony.
I want to go to you.
I don't know. Maybe you have me
All
beat.
it takes to win. She comes from nowhere.
Ace 3.
Who?
Bang, 7.
Kathy?
Yeah.
What's
Ace 3.
What's he doing? Small blind. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
How's the board, Gregory?
Raise.
No tournament today? Stop.
No. Today not the holding. Start. So,
30 over, seat open, 30 over.
Four.
Very good. I woke up 6:30.
Check.
In the afternoon? Yeah. Shut up. Yeah, I woke up at 3. I got home, I played tournament. I mean, 1 hour. Oh, that's good.
Check.
It's nice when you went here and you went there. 6:30, I was spent.
This is $1 million hand.
You write down every day what you went to in party poker? No, I have no money. Party poker. I lose on the computer. I have one side bicycle, one side party poker.
Check.
Check.
I just stopped it. Nobody called?
Hey, the minute I bet the turn, they knew I had a monster.
Cocktails. Who's that? You want? I could put my purse there too.
Let me get cocktails. Oh, there's cocktails.
Yeah, right here.
No, I have them. We'll have a, that's a race. You drink that.
Can you make it extra dry? Or extra dry? Make sure it's extra dry. You wrapped it up.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, for 100, okay.
After pop.
Hey, you know what? I gotta get lucky sometime, you know?
Seat open.
Almost everything. We made expensive only and made
One half $1,500.
13.
Hi, sweetie.
7 way action. Ready?
Let's go.
Oh, was it 7? You're right.
5, 6.
I'm out.
6-5, right? 5, 6, 5. How much? 1, 2, 5, 6. 1, 2, 5, 6.
Why they ride away from
Oh, the one that works?
6, yeah. 6 for a cat.
And what is the code?
4, 5,
24, and then all 6 of you call. So that's 30 small bets.
120.
So that's 15 big bets. 30 small bets, 15 big bets. And 3 of you call. 18. And 3 of you call. No, it was raised. 3 of you called a raise on the turn. That's 6. That's 21, and then 2 you call. 23 big bets. 23 times 60. Sure. I think it's 13.80.
Erase.
13.80.
Learn.
Fire. I've been trying.
Now you know.
Getting a new Roberto.
Too many possibilities. And
It's there.
Keep reading.
yeah, that's good.
It's not good.
That's good.
Yes, Jack?
Keep forgetting what it says.
Oh,
Better than this.
You're going
I
back.
figured
Thank you.
something was up.
You're going back, sweetie. Vicky is from your country.
I know.
I said only HJ. I didn't tell you I have HJ.
Originally from Armenia.
Thank you.
You ever been there?
I really want to go.
After tonight's session, you got enough money to buy a ticket, I guess.
Raise.
About $2,000. It's not the money. It's just if you go there, you have to go at least for 2 weeks. Because it's like an 18-hour flight. By the time change and whatever, there goes 2-3 days. You can't go for a week. It's not worth it. And it's hard to get away for 2 weeks. Check.
Check.
That good? That good? They're like 8 fingers club. Thick language?
thought I win is the microscopic.
Today was the most boring 30-60.
It still is. Spice it up.
This is one interesting hand.
Oh, top set on a flopper. Don't show me your cards.
You see them?
Well, I like to peek, and
Hey, your
you're
clock
making it
is
easy.
closed.
Huh?
Hey, your clock is closed.
Under the guns. Thank you, right? That card, don't touch. Tell me to touch, I can't win.
Watch this. Take it down.
Check.
Everybody call? Oh, such a good game last night. Couldn't win. That much. I won 800.
How did you play?
Bottom of
Okay.
my chips up, down, the same scenario. Except before number 10.
What you end up doing?
Huh?
You ended up doing what? Winner?
But I, you know, good chance to win money.
Alberto. 30-60. Thank you.
Stack your chips.
Thank you. No.
That didn't work out?
Big blind, please.
Like that? No, she just was feeling the power.
Fill me out, please.
Big blind, please.
Oh, time. Okay.
Grace.
No diamond.
No diamond, please.
No diamond.
Grace.
Oh, boy.
Yo te lo cogí. Tú te lo cogí, dile.
Oh. Thank you.
So your friends called you last night for the good game?
Huh?
Your friend?
No.
You got a call? Or you were just here for that 30 games? Oh, you just were here? I thought you said they called you up and said, come over here. Oh, you called her.
She cannot get in the game. She tell me before. The game is still good.
Call.
Three. Sure.
Stuck. Are you leaving? You're not going in there? Check.
No, I'm doing it Saturday night.
Yeah. Mama. Monster. Beautiful lady.
Thank you.
that open it?
This is more than
Oh, 40 chips.
raise,
Race.
3 bets. Yeah. Raise, okay, I'll go. Let's go. This is the, you don't come, Tony? This is the action sign.
And I shouldn't even drop those 3 chips.
Those 3 chips?
Yeah.
Check. You're calling me, but on blind bet. Okay.
Blind bet?
Yeah. Blind call?
Oh, nice.
Just in case you get the queen, I can back up. Thank you. Take blind. I would like to get West. First, you have to do right and Saturday, sit back. One day you have the weekend. I went out there on the weekend.
Yeah, weekends. Yeah, in Miami, usually we like to go out on the weekdays.
Check. Yes, sir. Everybody knows.
Ravi.
I check. Okay.
Good call. People seem to think they deserve when they come
No.
Okay, last call.
deserve to that.
For alcohol. Okay, that would be
I'm going to call this one too.
You think so?
8, 7, 6, 8.
I can't call. I'm gone. I can't call. I'm out.
Clear.
Straight.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was a big house before the fall.
What?
6. Oh. 6, 7. Oh, you flopped it. Straight draw and
That's an inside knockout.
I know. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Oh, well.
I'm running out of chips.
Big line.
You really need a player now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm advertising and doing what I can.
Gotta grab him and bring him.
Who?
Players.
I'll go out and get somebody on Instagram.
There you go. Race.
Raise. I call. Call, I call.
I don't blame you. I'm not gonna be
No, I've ace is crack, king is crack, use jack, but ace is
Okay.
Time please. Okay, I'm paying you. Small pair good? Any pair good?
I got king. I lay down king jack.
Oh my
Dewey good?
Nice call.
Dewey.
See? Any pair good?
Crazy.
Makes sense. That's why I said, okay. My last bet.
Gonna go to Las Vegas?
I went there last Thursday.
Oh.
Stayed there 1.5 days.
Did you get it? I know Bart was saying that he didn't get in till like by the time he got his seat, it was like 2 hours into the tournament. Did you get in time?
About 1 hour after.
Yeah, I heard the line was like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Something crazy.
Everybody on the table was having a lot of chips, and I started to short stuff.
She take a phone.
Okay. Oh yeah? He said he got blinded off like $150 out of 1,000 or something. Tournament chips. He said
I'm
something like
quitting soon. These are house players. They gotta sit and play. They can't take off and go sit and
Exactly, sweetie. Call them back,
I
please.
raised. He can't help it. He can't call them. Can't force them.
I only left for 5
Race.
minutes one time. Tony, what
Not
do you want
you,
from me?
not you. Come on.
Okay, because you know I like to gamble. I like
I
to.
re-raise.
No.
I re-raise.
3 bets, you know, you have to tell the truth.
It's okay, we're entitled to leave for 5 minutes.
But you couldn't tell me when I was asking you.
I'll tell you when I finish that.
No, but I remember something.
I'm here for 1 round.
Well, check. Okay, I bet this one. You raise? Holy Christ. Okay, I call.
Hold on. One time.
What's that? 3 bets? 3 bets. Okay, I call.
And we're back.
Tony,
And I'm here with Jennifer Bankston, who was
Very much
lucky
so.
enough to fill in for me while I was gone for a lot of the time last week. How you doing, Jennifer?
I'm great.
Looks like Tony here in seat 3 has won a lot. He has got a set of 2s. And Grace has been calling all the way with top pair. And Grace says she has to call. She has no choice. And Tony's going to take it down with a set of 2s.
Huck Dewey, never
Only
Louis.
Seat 3.
Only figure a hand.
The perfect time I come in for you to get pocket deuces.
Wow.
Boy, this guy's won a lot of chips
Sometimes
tonight.
those deuces, I love.
Playing pretty good hands.
It's got the dealer button, I think, somewhere in there. There we go. There we go.
I don't like you, Tony. Where are the players, sweetie? Who's
He
in?
just walked away just now. I don't know where Kathy went. This is,
Kathy won my hand and left. That's the
Kathy,
problem.
Kathy,
I think we have a new player there in seat 4, Kathy. She's away from the table right now. Grace in seat 1, Albert in seat 2, Tony in seat 3, Kathy in seat 4. I think Mr. Kim is still in seat 5. Vicky in seat 7, Hank in seat 8, and Maury in seat 9.
So we've got a lot of regulars tonight.
Yes, we do.
We only have this once a week. No, for 4 hours. You did 10 times.
You know you do a lot of commentary when you know more than half the players at the table.
Well, Grace has got big, slick suited. She's raised.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
6-6 queen. Wow, look at that. Seat 2's flop trips. And he just calls.
Called 2 bets cold with that hand?
I know. You'd be amazed, Jennifer.
I
You'd
guess
be
so.
amazed.
Poor Ace King.
Turns a 10.
You can't bluff me out of this one.
And look at this. Grace is going to call. She's got overcards and a gut shot straight. Grace is going to need to catch a jack here. The river is a deuce. And look at this. Grace is going to call all the way down with ace king.
Freaking hell.
If I was a short stack, I would have taken
And looks like she's opened a bottle of wine there since we've been gone.
Hey, watch the drop, dealer.
I can hit anything. $3 on it.
6 people, $3.
Don't worry about the drop, all the players.
$6.
Oh,
Drop is $1.
you're perfect again.
No, we don't have a seat. We
So
don't
is
have
Vicky
a
doing pretty well?
And I haven't seen Vicky play a lot of hands so far. Like I
Unless
said,
that
I'm
was-
crediting that to me.
And we got the.
She wasn't too pleased with some of the commentary I did when she was first started to be on the show.
They don't want to play here.
So she seemed to have tightened
She
up
got
a
a
bit.
hold of me before I even got in here.
Oh, really?
She caught me before I even got I'm like running to get on the show, and she's like, Jennifer! Don't worry, I'm not going to say anything bad about you. Just don't play like crap.
You're getting a player. Go.
No one's working tonight?
So we're gonna see four-way action here. Looks like it's been limped around.
Check.
Check.
Tony's got the ace. He's flopped an ace with ace-4. 3 ace-6 on the flop.
C2 bet out his middle pair. And calls the raise.
Mr. Kim.
King comes on the turn. Tony's gonna bet the ace.
Are you?
Very.
And he's gonna take it down. Mr. Kim has come back to the table in seat 5.
Is Lizette sitting in seat 6?
That's right, Lizette is sitting in seat 6.
Hey, you guys. Kathy's in school.
I had to talk with her already, too.
How much? 30? Yeah.
Quite
She
the
probably
game.
doesn't know that she's only allowed to take 10-minute break in this game.
Is that true?
She just left.
Yeah.
She doesn't know.
Quite the game that we have here tonight, Jennifer. Again, tomorrow night, join us for a $500 shootout.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that's going to be
Shirley's-
Let, Shirley, Mo.
Yeah, Jonas, Gore,
Yeah, see?
some of the usual characters in our No Limit games. We're going to be using cash, real cash chips. The blinds will be going up. And it's a freeze out. Whoever takes all the money at the end wins.
Awesome.
$5,000.
Well, good luck to everyone. I think Shirley has mad statistical advantage on that, though.
Well, we'll see. If it's tournament style, you know, you always wonder. Good cash game No Limit players like a Jonas, Mo, Gore, some of the other people that play that cash game well,
Right.
are they going to be able to adjust?
Right.
Look at this. Maury's check raise with ace-3. C2 is called. When it's heads up,
He knows it's the best hand.
the turn is a 6. And now C2 has got a flush draw. And I was going to say, this might be a time to raise here, but he just calls.
And he has a straight draw if he gets a 5.
And he's got the pair of 3s. And there's the flush. 10 of clubs on the river. And Maury checks.
Hi, Kathy.
And now C2 bets.
Had a cake
Maury
and
has to
Kathy.
pay.
And Albert's going to take it down with the flush. 3-7 of
I
clubs.
know, you know, it's like, hi, Kathy, hi, Kathy, hi, Kathy.
Big blind special.
That wasn't a big blind special.
But I wish I
He's under the gun.
Now
Gracie was a big blind.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Under the
I
gu-
know you're thinking
under the
that
gun special.
because that would be normal, but
Yep, yep.
no. In fact, people do play 3-7 of clubs under the gun.
winning.
Who's our newbie in seat 6 there?
Oh, Kathy's moved over there to seat 6.
I'm choosing.
But actually, that gentleman wants to take it.
The truth. Especially the female. No, he's fine. The guys enjoy. Not the girl. Female, they sit there.
Is it me? Yes.
Like listen to all the
So we're probably going to get a new player there in seat 4.
Suited cards.
The better if we live with them all my life.
Maury's bought in for another rack.
Raise.
And he's going to raise. He's got ace-3 offsuit.
So might as well.
Nobody opened the pot yet.
Look, Grace calls out of the small blind. Deuce-5 suited. Seat 2's in there with a
You
king-10.
could say whatever you want to
It
say.
says most Armenian women like to cause problems.
Wow. Look at that. Flush draw for Grace. Jack 10-3. King 10 flops second pair. Grace leads
How do
in.
you know?
I live with them.
Seat 2 calls and Maury calls. Maury's got flopped a pair.
That's
We
what I
get the
do.
pot and hit
That's
him
what
on
I
Turn
do.
is a queen. That gives King 10 a pair and an open-ended straight draw. And now Grace checks to seat 2. And it's going to get checked around on the turn.
wow.
The river is a
wow.
3 and Maury makes trips.
Diamonds in the river?
Unbelievable.
Okay, check.
Not a lucky card for Maury.
Yeah.
No, because
I think C2's going to pay him off.
Oh, I definitely think that C2 is probably going to call. Well, now that they're showing each other cards.
Oh yeah, actually, Gracie
that's-
shouldn't have shown.
that's really not
She
fair.
didn't realize
No.
that he wasn't gonna. That he had a.
You see your cards. I mean, you
hand.
show your cards to each other. Now
Yeah.
you're
I
thinking
showed
about calling.
diamonds.
Yeah, he showed diamonds, but I mean,
I showed
that,
deuce five of diamonds.
She's still not supposed to show.
Absolutely
I mean, if
not.
she showed a 10 and then
Now
left
he's
it, that would
thinking
definitely
about
kill
calling or
Maury's
whatever.
action.
Yeah.
Of deuce five of diamonds?
yeah, of course that kills the action,
Grace, you
Grace.
know better. You shouldn't show your cards.
I apologize, but I didn't think deuce five would influence
You're
it.
making excuses for something
I'm
you
not
did
making
wrong.
excuses, Maury, but
You're
I
not.
didn't think deuce
Okay,
five
you're
of
not.
diamonds was...
That was my understanding. You were making.
Well,
excuses.
Maury's
So
pissed because
this
he's not
part,
going to
I mean,
get paid off here at the
Pocket
end.
King is- No, that's irrelevant here. That's irrelevant. I mean, it has.
The problem with showing deuce 5 of diamonds, Jennifer, is
Is that you proved that now she was on the flush draw.
and the chances that I'm on a flush draw are slimmer.
Slim.
Right, that I'm
That
trying
Maury
to
was
pick it up
trying
in
to
a
buy
bluff.
the pie-
Right,
pot.
right,
Right.
right. So that's the problem.
You didn't even see it. See, I thought I showed it to the whole table. Why are you so upset about things like that, Maury? I mean, I wasn't making a move on...
No, it's see.
it costs
you
him
both had your
$60.
cards up, holding up like that.
I didn't see his hand. I showed my hand, and after I showed my hand, that's when I looked at his hand, when I mocked it. I even said it jokingly. I mean, how would
This
I
is being
why would I
taped,
ever
right? You
try
can
to
see
do
later
it? I
on that
apologize
they're
for
holding
my
up hands like
mistake.
this.
Well, the best poker etiquette would probably just be to not show your cards at all, and certainly don't show them to somebody waiting to act behind you.
That someone's still in the hand? Yeah, that's probably a pretty good idea.
I mean, sometimes I want to show some cards, but I definitely know I can't show them to the person to my left.
Barely halfway through. A little more than halfway through. Over an hour. Hour and 40.
Oh, now Grace is saying that Maury's lucky.
Let's choose one too many glasses for Gracie tonight.
He's abusing me.
Oh, there's a loose call by Vicky. Queen
Oh,
8 of
yeah.
diamonds.
What happened to no suited connectors? Well, I guess it's not exactly connected. Now she's flopped a straight draw against
got a-
two pair.
Got shot. Look at this. Tony's flopped top 2 pairs. And he's going to check raise Vicky. Vicky calls. Vicky's got a backdoor diamond draw, too. Turn is a king.
Yeah, see, now he's gonna bet. What now would he bet? He doesn't bet.
Wow, I do not understand that. 10 comes on the river. And now he bets.
And now when he has the least amount of chances of getting her to pay, she would have paid one more bet on the turn.
I don't understand why you would check the turn there. Well, you know what the thing is though is actually, Jennifer, if she had a king, and he figured, that she maybe thought that he was check raising just on a 7. Now, if I would have made that play, I would have checked the turn to someone who would have raised pre-flop and then check raised him on the turn.
Right.
But she didn't really raise, and I can't necessarily put her on a king.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was a little bit of a strange play. King Jack here for Tony, for seat 2. Tony's got 7-9, 8-9 off seat. And Kim's going to get a free ride in the big blind, it looked like, with the ace-3. Actually, the button raised. So it's 3 ways times double bet. Deuce-9 Jack. It's a pretty good flop for King Jack. And look at this. I had a feeling Tony was going to do that with second pair. Now, this is a case where
Check raise with second pair. Right?
I might just call and pop Tony on the turn, but he's going to 3-bet, and Tony calls. Turn is a 4. Tony's going to check call with a 9. And the river is a 5. King Jack's going to take it down. And look at this. Tony's going to bet at the end. Well, it's one of those cases where if you're going to bet, if you're going to call, Jennifer,
You might as well bet.
you might as well bet, and maybe you could get something like pocket 10s to lay down a hand like that at the end.
Right.
But it ends up the guy has king jack, and he takes it down. Again, I might have played that hand a little bit differently. I might have just called on the flop and raised on the turn. And that double bet comes in there.
Yeah, I agree.
Of course, you are vulnerable to overcards when your top pair is just a jack.
Yeah,
so
but
you
you're
don't
only
wanna
vulnerable to an ace or a queen,
Ace or
though.
queen, yeah.
Gentleman in there.
But
That gentleman wanted to play. What happened?
maybe the guy thought he was betting
He was asking
some
you if
draw
this is a
on the
30
button,
game.
and he thought
Oh, was it?
if he raised him right there, he could get him off his hand.
Well, we got a new player there in seat 4. That's Joe.
Oh.
One of those rammer and jammer Vietnamese players. Joe's
Oh,
pretty
really?
smart, though.
He looks familiar.
Play with the props.
I think I've seen this guy play around the bike.
Grace is raised there with king jack
Fantastic.
offsuit. She gets called in 3 spots. 5, 8, 10.
And you turn that down, huh?
She bets. The button calls. Tony's going to call there with the bottom pair. He has no heart. 10, 5, 8 of hearts. And it looks like Grace checked and Tony bet. Now the river's a 7. And now Grace bets. Wow, what a strange way this hand's played out.
Yeah, well,
Looked
she
like-
can't win if she doesn't bet.
Looks like Grace had checked, called the turn, and now she bets when a 7 comes on the river. And they get really, like... Is Tony going to muck the hand?
No, but
I wouldn't think so. It's just kind of very, very strange the way that hand plays out, and Grace is on a bluff there. Tony's going to take it down to 5. I mean, Jennifer, you check, call the turn, and now you bet when the river comes, which really couldn't really help you that much, right, at 7
Right.
of diamonds?
Nah, it doesn't help that much.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're on a really weird straight draw.
Yeah.
If I blue,
Right?
Once in a while, not all the
I
time.
want to see what it's like to have chips thrown my way.
Okay, got it.
Beautiful.
But I like her bet. She can't win the pot unless she bets with king high.
Almost straight. Almost flush.
So we have a question from the guy Walter wants to play the shootout tomorrow.
He's
and,
emailed us at live@thebike.com.
And he's asking, he signed up for the shootout tomorrow and wants to know if you can show up at 5:15 and will they sell your seat? We'll find out for you.
Okay. I believe there are still like about 4 seats open, so it's a first come, first serve basis. We're going to see multi-way action here. Tony's got the best hand with pocket 10s. He has an overpair, 6-3-8. Now, this is really a time when you would want to raise. Now, I think Tony thinks he's slow playing with pocket 10s here, but you would want to get overcards out of here.
Yeah.
Now, it turns a 9. He's still in pretty good shape. Grace is going to bet on the 6. See, and wow, Tony just calls here again. This is a very, very dangerous way. And Kim is in there with pocket deuces. The river is an 8, and
Gonna
Tony
take it down.
still has the best hand. It brings the 3 diamonds to the board. And now Grace checks. And now Tony checks and Kim checks. And Tony's going to take it down with pocket 10s and overpair. You know,
That's very strange. Did he raise before the flop?
yeah, there were a couple of raises in there for the flop. And Tony takes on another pot. And look at his chip stack.
Wow. That's a huge
Unbelievable.
pot.
You know, Jennifer, it's... Sometimes you could slow play top pair, you know, if your top pair was an ace or a king or something like that with a really good kicker, but pocket 10s with
Yeah,
a
you're gonna
board
dodge
that...
a lot of cards.
With a board that's ragged,
Right.
and there's 4 people in there for a raise pre-flop, you want to knock hands like ace king out of there.
Exactly.
You know, you do not want to keep hands like ace king in there. But he ended up winning the hand.
It's one of those hands that's not good enough to slow play.
That's the thing.
And that's what Grace is saying. She's like, well, can't really figure out what you got there, Tony, because you're playing so unorthodox.
Come down.
And he's in there again. We can't quite see what he has because he's got all his chips in front of the window camera.
Check.
Tony's got a king 4 offsuit. Flop is ace 7 8 2 spades. Seat 2 is bet on second pair. And Tony calls there with king 4 offsuit. It's heads up seat 2 against seat 3 with king 4 offsuit.
Wow.
Seat 2 is going to bet again. Now seat 2's made 2 pairs. But
all
now
seat-
Tony's picked up a gut shot, so
Yeah.
maybe he'll call. He's going to draw
only
to a
drawn
5.
4 cards.
He's going to hit a 5 here. Looks like they're all live from what I've seen. Oh, the turn's a 9. And that actually brings a 1 card straight to the board, and 6-8 continues to bet in here. Any 5 or 10 would be a straight.
How some people are never wrong.
Wow. King 4 offsuit.
Tony mucks. Seat 2 takes it down. You know, I was also telling people in Vegas, Jennifer, that Southern California definitely has got the best cash games around. I think the games
the
everywhere.
toughest games, right?
I think the games everywhere are good, but the action here in LA is second to none. And as we see, a 30-60 game, which I said is considered mid-limit, but it really is a huge game.
Yeah,
Huge
it's
game.
huge to me. Yeah. it
Huge
is a
game. These are $10 chips. Brown chips are $10 chips. A rack is $1,000. A stack is $200. Again, it's a 3-6 chip structure, 2 and 3 blinds. Maury's going to raise.
Throw them around like they're dollars.
Now, when Maury raises out of the blind, he's probably going to have a pretty good hand, and he's got pocket kings. Tony's going to call with 7-10 offsuit. Well, Tony's picked up top pair here.
Excellent for Maury.
See if
Let's
Tony
see if he
raises.
Of course. Value bet the
He's going to raise.
worst hand, always.
Maury 3 bets. And look at this. Tony's going to 4 bet. Again, there is no cap. Heads up. See if Maury maybe check raises here on the turn if a harmless card falls. Ooh, it's
Oh,
an ace.
no.
Well, Tony.
Wow, check, check. The river is another ace. I think it's pretty easy to put Tony on a 10 there.
Yeah.
And Maury bets in, and he's going to take it down. I like the value bet there at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Would he really check there on the turn if, he's scared of the ace? And Maury takes it down. There's a good look at our $10 chips.
Let me get lucky once, Tony.
That was lucky. That was not getting unlucky. Best hand.
Believe me, winning against Tony, I got lucky.
We definitely got to get Vicky in here sometime. I think she's...
Normally another 10 would come.
I'm sure she has a
She
lot of positive
She fancies
things
herself
to say.
as a commentator, at least tonight at the table.
I don't think she'd be half bad.
Kathy, who's another tight player, she's raised here in seat 6 with ace king. Maury's going to cold call on the butt with king queen suited. Seat 2 is in there at queen 7
I think it's a
offsuit.
perfect. I mean, yeah, you're drawing, so you want action on the hand from Maury's perspective. But I still would, if I'm going to play that hand, I'd still 3-bet it and knock out the blinds, or at least make them pay a premium because you're still, you're drawing, so you need to get the money in.
King queen suited is one of those hands that I actually like to cold call or raise with. That and ace jack suited.
Oh, ace jack suited, I instantly. If somebody raises in front of me, I just mock. It's
But king queen
9 times
suited,
9
you 3-bet?
Yeah.
Boy, that's
Yeah,
Wow.
I know. I'm strange that way.
7-9-9 on the flop.
Well, it's more romantic to play king queen.
Oh, okay.
I'm such a girl.
C2 bets. C3 calls, and Kathy calls from behind with ace king. The turn is a 4. C2 has the best hand. He's got Tony outkicked. Now Kathy mucks the ace-king.
That's definitely not us.
And the river is a 4. And Queen 7 still has the best hand here. It's going to be 9s and 7s with the queen kicker. C2, Albert's going to take it down. Tony's working that one out in his head. He thinks it's a chop, but it's not.
The queen plays.
I didn't even notice.
Yep. 9s and 7s with the queen kicker.
You want a 9-4? We here 9-7.
I haven't had that happen to me just a couple of minutes ago. But I was the one who was losing, and I was the one who had to explain to the rest of the table why I lost.
Look at Tony's chips. My goodness.
Looks like he's picking up a rack there. What's going on? You can't leave us.
He's going to post a small blind, so... Hank's coming back in there. He's got dead money in the pot. Hank is posting dead, putting the amount of the big blind in seed aid, and then he's got the amount of the small blind dead in the middle. He's actually posting $50 for this hand. Now, posting around in this manner, the strategy changes a little bit. A lot of times you want to bring a lot of hands in for raises. Now, he's got a couple of garbage cards. He's got 4-7 offsuit, so he just checks. King 9-3. And Joe is going to bet out with Queen 9 out of seat 4. He has the best hand. He's going to put a feeler bet out there, and he's most likely going to take it down. And he is.
First time you played, right, Joe?
First time I played. I played 2 times, huh? You know, yesterday I had a 3-time pocket pair. 2-time pocket king and for pocket jack. Yeah, it's a good game.
How did you do yesterday? You did good, right?
Actually, very good. I'm losing.
You left before me yesterday?
What time you left? Oh yeah, you're still there.
So Bart, in our mini series of poker tournaments, we have the 7-card stud high only.
Well, that was tonight's tournament.
Yeah, it's going on tonight.
Some of the upcoming interesting tournaments.
That's winning of the green, Bart. Grab the right schedule, hon. Here we go.
You know me?
Maury's gonna. Looks like Maury raised there with pocket 8s. Kim is in there with ace king. And seat 2 is cold call with king deuce.
Oh wow, he's fought the set here. Maury has.
And why not bet it, especially if it's rags?
You only play maybe 3 hours.
Look at this. C2 is trying to get tricky here. Doesn't think Maury's got anything. He's raised. And now Maury 3 bets. Maury's pretty straightforward. He's going to drive at it. And I was going to say, how can King 2 call? He's made a move. Look at this. He caps it. I just don't understand, Jennifer. I mean, you got your information. You're at least up against an overpair. You know?
At least.
At least. And now Maury's made a full house. Let's see if he... No, he's going to bet. I was going to say, let's see if he check raises. Well, you got to figure that Maury maybe thinks that the guy's on a straight draw, so why not make him pay for it?
Right, and this guy's going to call.
He's going to call with King 2.
No, he raised. He raised with King high.
Wow.
Well, if you're going to play a bad hand, play it all the way out, right?
Now he's made 2 moves on Maury. He's raised with King Deuce on the turn, and now Maury's come back over the top. Now you've got to let the hand go.
And you have no chance. He's drawing completely dead.
8-9, no good, he says.
He has pocket aces.
Who's got pocket ace?
Doesn't matter. You have King Deuce.
And that beats 28-9.
How is this hand not in the muck?
Like I said, I mean, you raise on the flop. Maury 3 bets you. At that point, I'm done. Okay? I'm done with the hand. Once Maury 3 bets, it means that he's got something, at least an overpair or a pair. You know what I mean? A pair that he thinks that he beats you with. And now you're going to try to make a move again on the turn, and now he's 3-betted you. Wow, that's interesting. Well, tomorrow night,
Is the
Our mini
$100
series of poker tournament
buy-in,
continues
no limit
at 7:15 with 100 no limit hold'em, and that's going to be a popular one. We'll probably get at least 400 or 500 people, I would think. Friday is limit hold'em at 7:15, and Saturday is pot limit hold'em. Of course, the mini series of poker mirrors the World Series of Poker's schedule at 1/10 the buy-in 2 days before each event, with the exception of some of the very, very odd games that they sometimes only play at the World Series. Like, you won't find pot limit Omaha High here, or
Right.
Deuce to 7. No limit.
Right. Well, because we usually like to have more than 30 people enter our
Right,
tournaments.
right.
Although I would play just for fun.
Pot
Just
is-
because I never have another
Opportunity to, right? Pot is limped around here. 7-9-3, 3 clubs. Kathy's going to bet. She's got the ace of clubs in seat 6. Seat 2 mucks, and Tony is drawing to the second nut, and he's in big trouble if it gets there. Joe's going to muck Jack 10. Kim's out of there with bottom pair. And it's heads up, ace 7 against King Deuce. And 8 comes on the turn. Kathy bets again.
Still got the best hand, pair of 7.
Now the problem here is if the club comes and Kathy checks and Tony bets, he's going to take it down. If 3 comes on the river, she checks. No, Tony didn't fire at it. Kathy's going to take it down with ace high.
No, she's got pair
Oh, she's got an
sevens.
ace
That's
7
why,
too.
Like,
she had a pair and a club
She
draw.
had a
Yeah,
really sad.
pair and a club draw.
So I think I'm going to take a stab at it on Sunday.
Well, Sunday is Omaha High Low, $100.
Yeah, I know.
There you go.
That would definitely be what I'd call a stab at it.
Now, Monday night is a fairly big tournament. That is $500 no limit hold'em. And again, all the events during the week start at 7:15, and the events on the weekend start at 4:15. That's how we usually run all of our tournaments at the Bicycle Casino. Yeah, why not try some new games that people aren't that necessarily familiar with? Come down for 7-card stud high-low, $100
Right.
tournament. Usually you can't get a chance to enter those types of tournaments at such a low buy-in.
Right.
We see a raise here by Albert in seat 2 and a 3-bet by Tony in seat 3. And Albert's got king-jack offsuit. Tony's got pocket 6s.
So when I raise and people 3-bet me, this is what they're 3-betting me with?
I would never 3-bet you with that. Although that's how I went out in the World Series, $1,500 event. And I 3-betted aces with pocket 5s. But now king-jack is checked blind, and Tony checks behind him. Boy, that's very strange.
Yeah.
The turn is a queen, and the river is an 8. And pocket 6s is going to take it down. Well, unless you were really scared of getting check raised there on that flop. I like the flop if I've got pocket 6s.
Right, that's like the best you can hope for, practically.
Tony takes down another pot. Looks like he's changed up some of his chips there for cash. $100 bills usually play in these high-level games. And in a non-jackpot game, which is what this game is, you can have bills on the table. In jackpot games, they make you take the bills off the table and change them in for chips. And of course, we're talking about bad beat jackpots, Jennifer.
Yes.
Aces full of kings, cracked by quads.
Aces full of 10s, even.
Aces full of 10s, cracked by quads or higher. Making sure you were there.
Yeah, well, I would have believed you that you just didn't know since you usually play in non-jackpot games.
And in Omaha, it's quad 8s, right?
Quad
8s
eights,
are better.
yes.
Yeah.
And if you have the losing hand, you have to have a pair in the hole if you have quads.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Quad 8s beaten by quad 8s are better, right?
Yeah. Right.
Hank is going to bet out here in seat 8 with deuce 3. He's got bottom pair. And Kim, he's in big trouble because he's up against pocket 8s for Kim. See what Hank does. He's going to bet here again. Kim's just going to call. Well, Hank still only has 2 pairs, 3s, and 4s. Again, use the best 5 cards in your hand.
Check.
And Kim's going to take it down with 8s and 4s.
10 is good.
Eights are good too.
Yep.
Pocket eight is still good. That was a bad 4 for you, huh?
Makes no difference. Well, if the 2's coming, then it's a bad 4.
Yeah.
I think you call if I bet.
Yeah, he would have called.
Well, I don't, that's why I would probably raise in that spot with eights just to see what's going on. I don't know if I would just call all the way down.
No, I mean, if Hank had bet on the end, Mr. Kim's still going to call.
Oh, of
with
course,
eights.
of course.
So there's no point.
Again, in limit hold'em, it's not usually the right move just to call.
Right.
Usually it's fold or raise.
Pocket jack for seat 6.
And she's going to 3-bet Albert in seat 2. Seat 2 has brought it in with ace 8 offsuit. Kathy has 3-betted with pocket jacks. So it's heads up, ace 8 against pocket jacks. Seat 4 is out of their hand. Five deuce queen. Kathy still has the best hand here with pocket jacks. Seat 2 is checked.
Feeling for an ace.
And he calls. Yeah, he calls with ace 8. Oh, Jennifer, look at that. The turn is an ace.
That's rough. He's going to check Razor.
Well, no, he's going to check call.
So he doesn't think his ace is good, but it was good enough to peel a card? That doesn't make any sense.
You got to think that Kathy's probably going to check it down here with 2 overcards. And she does. She's checked it down. And
Well, if he thought that drawing to his ace was
Albert
good,
takes
why
it down.
not check Razor on the turn? It doesn't make any sense.
got to agree with you there.
That was kind of loud. What do we got going on here?
Oh, we got 5-way action going on. Looks like it's been limped around.
Check.
Ace 3-9. Look at this. Albert's got the best hand again with ace deuce.
Ace douche.
But Grace bets on the 9. Albert just calls, and Tony calls. Tony's got a gut shot. That's why you would want to raise with the ace there, to get gut shots like that out. And look at this. Grace has made 2 pairs on the turn. Unbelievable. 6-9. Wow. And now the river is a 3.
Now her 2 pair mean nothing.
And that's right. Albert's going to take it down. Grace is counterfeited. And Albert wins there at the end. Look at that.
The river.
Well, she went to worst to first to worst.
And again, I have to agree with Grace. It's so difficult to put seat 2 or seat 3 on a hand because they don't play in the normal fashion that
Right.
you usually see limit players at this level play.
If you're going to play the ace deuce and you hit an ace,
Usually you're going to
you
raise. Right.
If you didn't think your ace was going to be good, you shouldn't have played it.
Because I was going to say, if I was Grace, well, Grace had the option of check raising. There were 2 pairs, but probably betting was the correct way to go because you don't necessarily put a guy in an ace because there was no raise on the flop.
Right.
So why risk giving a free card?
Right.
So I think it was proper for her to bet on the turn. Again, it's just so difficult to figure out what these guys have.
Vic, how do you say Namin get out of my phone?
Just like that. Get out of my phone.
Okay.
Queen
Or just
jack.
kick 'em.
Offsuit for Vicky in seat 7.
First time we've seen Vicky play a hand in a while. Joe's limped in with a pocket pair. He's got 5s.
That's a bad word.
Grace is going to
I
complete.
gotta say, I don't limp in with Queen Jack offsuit.
Well, she's got position and late position. Let's see what happens here. 5-way action. 9-7-6. You got to figure Joe's probably going to bet here with pocket fives if it gets. Well, now Grace
I
bets.
win. Okay, that's English.
So now you got to. What is Joe going to do? Now he's got a gut
Hopefully
shot.
he doesn't hit his set.
And this is what we're talking about. He's got a gut shot, but if an 8 comes, it brings a 1 card straight to the board to the 10. So probably mucking here would be the best option, but he's going to call. Again, like you said, Jennifer, if a set comes, it's 1 card straight. If an 8 comes, it gives you a straight. But someone else can easily have a higher straight.
Exactly.
The turn is a queen. That's going to give Tony queens up. Queens and 7s. And Grace is still open-ended there. And now Joe is most likely going to muck here. Pocket 5s. And now what's Vicky going to do? She took one off with 2 overcards, and she's going to raise, and she's in big trouble.
Yeah.
And Tony should 3-bet here.
Because he's got Gracie on draw
Yeah,
trapped in the middle.
Tony should have 3-betted, but he just calls. The river is a 4. Grace has missed her draw. And look at this, Vicky's going to bet. She thinks she's got the best hand, but Tony's got queens up.
Queens up.
And again, these guys play the hand so unorthodox, Jennifer. It's just difficult to figure out what's going on, you know?
Right.
Very, very difficult.
Maybe he didn't 3-bet on the turn because he figured there's already a straight out there. But, I mean, if you're going to play the hand, raise for value when you think...
Yeah, it's tough. You know, it's tough to try to figure out what Vicky had there because a lot of people wouldn't call there with just a couple of overcards.
Right.
You know?
Right, maybe he put her slow playing a hand.
Slow playing a big hand at like a set or a made straight or something like that. But
Don't get habit on that board.
I think I still probably would have 3-betted.
I agree.
Yeah.
Saul! Saul! Saul!
You already gave me.
Big bang, Tony. Tell Saul to come here.
You can't fault Vicky for thinking that she had the best hand there at the end. I love the bet at the end, like I said. A lot of
Right.
people miss bets at the end. Well, now Vicky's coming in with kind of an inferior hand here. Now, I said that she was playing tight. Now she's going to come in with deuce 5
Now
of hearts.
she's upset.
Yep. Yep.
Well, I usually don't recommend peeling for overcards anyway, unless it's like in an ace-king situation,
Right.
heads up.
Well, we're going to see a bet here. A raise by Tony. And Vicky has called with second pair with a gut shot. The 10 comes. Albert's got the best hand. Now Vicky takes a free card. The river is a deuce. And it brings
Vicky 2 pairs.
2 pairs, but it brings 1 card straight to the board. So, you know, if Tony mucks, I would think that Vicky's probably going to at least call with 2 pairs here.
She is going to call.
And she's going to take it down.
Hey, she has
Now that's one of those cases, again, where it's not a bad bet by ace-6 on the end from early position if, when you get raised, you can get away from the hand because you might get a hand like 2 pairs to muck because there's
Right.
a 1 card straight. If you're going to call anyways, why not bet? You can use the same, do the same thing if there was a 4 to a flush out there. But if you get raised by a solid player, you've got to muck for that extra
You
bet.
gotta know that
Yeah.
you're finished
Yeah.
with the hand.
No.
Lucky Vicky there. 2 pair on the river.
And that's why it's a lot of times it's proper to call with 2 pairs when there are 4 liners out there because you know someone's going to be making that move.
Right.
And it's very difficult to do that sometimes, just to force yourself into that if you don't have like that flush card, you know.
Right. Ace Jack suited.
Ace Jack
comes
suited.
when raising. Under the gun.
That's Kathy.
3-bet by Ace Queen and C2.
Kathy's in trouble. Ace Jack against Ace Queen.
You insult him, it says, if you play this fight.
Oh.
Oh, look at that. Kathy hits top pair. See if Kathy check raises here. She's going to check raise.
Okay, fine, go ahead, go ahead.
I wish I played my deuce 5
Yeah, I
again.
wish you played it again right now. Come on, let's. You don't have to be surprised.
Oh boy. 2 ladies at the table seem to be getting at it with each other.
Next time, play your 10-4.
9
Yeah,
comes
well,
on the turn.
What's funny is that they're actually friends.
Kathy bets, seat 2 calls. Seat 2's going to have to catch a queen here. 5 comes on the river. Kathy's made 5s full of jacks.
Well, probably she has a jack.
And again, Kathy's almost as tight as Maury, if not more tight, more solid. Looks like Albert's going to get away from this one.
She's got it for sure. I'm gonna fold this. This is a good fold.
Well, the only hand he can beat is ace 10 that she would be holding,
Yeah.
right? There's no point in calling.
Okay, I'll be back to you.
It's not likely she's going to check raise you on the flop with ace 10.
Well, the other thing, too, I'm going to point out there is that if I'm watching and Kathy hasn't played a lot, and I know her because I play with her almost every day, she's very, very, very solid, I might not even call on the button to her raise under the gun with ace-queen offsuit. Now, it just happened to be in that case that he had the best hand pre-flop, but normally,
Right, if she
really you're only hoping that she has ace-jack suited, because if you go through the range of hands that a very tight player is going to raise with under the gun, that's all you might beat, and some tight players don't even raise with ace-jack suited under the gun.
Right.
So it's...
That's going to be the worst hand that
Right.
she's raising with
Right.
under the gun.
So...
Raise
I mean,
comes in
she
raising.
could be raising with 9s or 10s, but you're still behind.
Right.
You're going to continue to peel off her overcards? I mean...
Gracie came in raising with ace 6.
It looks like Vicky called there out of the blind with king 5.
And Vicky bet, but Gracie raised. Vicky called.
Well, Grace has got some of that. She's got a 6.
Yep.
And that, again, that's a case where I like the bet by Vicky on the flop. If Grace raises, I know she's action, but I might get away from it.
Right,
I've
'cause
already
it
found my
looked like it
information.
missed her.
Look at this, though, a king on the river, and now Vicky bets. And Grace is going to call with a 6.
One pair.
Maybe she thought she had a 5 because she said 2 pairs. It's just a king.
No, Vicky had a 6. She had king 6.
Oh, okay. We got it up
The
as
card
king
was-
5.
yeah, she actually
I
had
see.
king 6. I saw when she turned it up. So she.
Okay, that makes
so
more
she,
sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she didn't bet on the flop with nothing. She
So she-
had same hand,
Okay.
worst kicker,
Mhm.
cutter kicker on the river.
So she had king 6 and Grace had ace 6. So
Right.
she bet in, Grace raised,
Right.
called. Okay. Again, that makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
Hank's back to the table here, and he's got pocket 9s on the big blind. Action Joe there in seat 4 has got ace queen. And he's going to raise. He had actually posted posted dead. Tony calls. And Hank calls with pocket 9s. Kim is in there on the button. Mr. Kim is not showing his cards again. Seat 5. There we go.
Ace king. Suited.
Let me see, I forgot my hand.
5-7-4. Look at this. Tony has flopped top 2 pairs. Joe
And this
calls
is
with
not
ace
a bad
queen.
flop for pocket 9s.
I'm surprised Hank is playing this a little bit passively. He's got the overpair in seat 8. The turn is a 7. Tony's filled up here on the turn, and he's going to bet seat 3 with 5-7. And this is the time when usually player with ace king and ace queen is going to get away from this hand. Kim's going to muck. Joe's going to muck. Hank's in there with the overpair. He's holding now, and he's got outs to a 9, 2 9s. River's a jack.
Go ahead.
And Tony's going to turn over 5-7 suited for a full house. 7's full of 5s.
The good news.
Wow, Tony.
How high is this full?
high
7's
is
full? Oh, 7's, okay.
Does it have to be full or 7 to full?
Well, boat over boat.
Oh, boat over boat, okay.
Yeah, well, I don't buy that one, Hank. Even if I was on the table and I couldn't see the cards.
You were going to have the flush.
1,400 down.
And I
I
wish.
don't think Hank would have check called with a forceful.
No way.
Yeah. I don't
Nice
think
flop.
so.
Thank you.
Nice everything.
Lucky that card.
Again, I think that Hank,
Okay, I'll stop by.
I would have probably liked to see Hank bet on the flop with an overpair. Now,
Yeah.
normally you don't know. I mean, obviously Joe could have had an overpair higher than his.
Right.
But, I mean, why give those guys free cards? Why just check call? You know, see what's going on. Bet with your nines.
Exactly right.
Comes back from
This
the
is what I always say. Every day.
He goes Rocco up here and raises.
We're going to see...
It's raised by
looks like
Tony.
C2. Yeah, Tony raised there with the ace-5 offsuit. Heads up, Jack-10 against ace-5. 3-8-7.
By the way, Vicky, for your information, there was an Armenian guy who played 30-60 was down there, says I'm confused. She told me, why did you play gun 7?
Look at this. Albert bets with Jack-10, and Tony just calls. Wow, he's hit his gut shot. He had overs with the gut shot, and he's hit it, but I don't think Tony can really call here.
All he has is a
ace-high.
and a.
But what do I know? He
Six,
calls,
of course.
and he's drawing totally dead here. Even if a 6 comes, it's no good. Deuce on the river.
Just for your information, I'm not a lawyer, but I can relate. So.
Wow, and Tony's going to pay the guy down all the
Ace
way with
high.
ace-high.
He only turns over the. No, it's not the nuts anymore, but
the flush,
close
right.
enough.
Not straight.
See, he goes one more
Hey,
time.
Good luck.
I'm glad she said it.
There's not a chance in the world that ace high was going to end up being the best hand. Even if ace was going to be the best hand, he had a horrible kicker. His kicker couldn't beat the board. If the guy had ace king, he had him beat.
Again, though, we come back to the point that, you know, different people come here for different reasons.
Yeah, if he's just gambling
He's
it
just
up,
gambling
more power
it up.
to him.
Just gambling it up, I'm sure. Having some fun. You know, and again, if you play proper poker can be quite boring at times. If you're looking at with action, you're usually going to play things, and you know, you're trying to spike aces. And
Oh yeah, I spent about 7.5 hours out of an 8-hour day just mucking hands.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, I know how it is. It's boring.
I'm naive. I believe everybody.
Me too. Anything I hear, I definitely believe. Know that. That's.
I don't think Hank is really having a great day over there in seat 8.
I don't think so.
I know
either.
Vicky is.
Ace queen suited.
That's Maury in seat 9. He's in the
Looks
small
good.
blind.
I lay down and like soft play her so much because of this.
That's a hand I smooth call with in the blind.
Well, it's going to depend on what type of action there is. Now, like if Hank were to raise here on the button and there were a couple limpers, I might 3-bet to knock the limpers out. He's going to raise.
Actually, seat 3 raised under the gun with pocket. I mean,
Seat
seat
2
2
raised with pocket nines. And Maury 3-betted with ace queen, and now nines caps it. So we're heads up, ace queen against pocket nines. 4 bets pre-flop. Wow, king 8. Let's see if Maury maybe check raises here.
This flush draw.
Nope, he's going to call. He's got the flush draw. He's got the nut flush draw.
Which one is that? Is that the
And there's the flush.
Oh, but
and
it
look at
gives-
this. It gives pocket nines a full house.
Wow.
And you got to think that Maury's probably going to check raise here.
Sorry.
Or is he going to play conservatively and just call? No, he's going
No,
to check
he's
raise.
gonna do it.
Now the question is, what does 2 do with the full house? He could think Maury's got a king. He could have a flush. Probably going to 3-bet. You might call and wait till the turn to pop him up here. But I wouldn't do that because if Maury had a low flush and a club came on the river, it could kill a lot of my
right.
action.
And he does.
Although,
He does 3-bet, and Maury smooth calls 3-bets.
But you got to also understand that Maury 3-betted pre-flop, so you
Right.
can't really put him on a low flush. I would put him on a high flush if he had a flush.
Hey, who got fired?
Deuce of spades.
That's a blank.
Well, obviously Maury's going to at least call here. He's got the nut flush. I think he hopes the guy has ace king.
Yeah.
Look at
gonna
this.
raise
No,
it.
he's going to check raise, and that's what he thinks the guy has. He thinks he's got ace king.
The guy makes it 3 bets,
And pocket nines is going to re-raise.
Let's go.
and Maury calls.
And
the 3
Maury
bet.
calls, and Albert's going to take down a huge pot. Nines full.
2 pair. No, boat on the turn.
Wow. And I was wondering if Maury was thinking that he was going to, he was thinking about that on the river. Was he going to check raise?
Monster turn.
And, I don't
That's not
necess-
fair. Somebody has to see his hand.
Oh, that's just ridiculous. But, I don't necessarily, fault Maury for that, because the way that you seen C2 play, he could have,
Right.
he just happened to have a full house there.
Right. No.
He could easily have still made that play with ace king, or not even, not even kings, just 3 kings in general.
3 chips?
Oh,
Wow.
Maury caught the club on the turn, but it was
Wrong
a 9.
club.
Wrong club. And now Albert's picked up pocket aces in the big blind in C2. Guy's on a roll.
What's the minimum I can bet? 3?
Seat 8, Hank.
Absolute minimum?
Limps in with
Minimum.
3s.
I'm in for the minimum.
He's going to get raised here out of the
I
blind.
want to be in the pot, but I want to put in the minimum.
No, you know what? Aces didn't raise.
Oh.
Yes.
Let's see. Wait a minute. I guess he hasn't had his full option yet.
Check.
No, he's going to raise.
Raise.
It's a pretty good raise for value there, Jennifer, out of the big blind.
Yeah. I always raise.
Okay, I call.
And, of course, you're not really going to drive anybody out there.
No, it's a value raise.
Yeah.
He's at worst tied, so might as well.
5 lanes. There you go.
5-way action here. King 4-6. Now, Grace is going to bet. Now, if your aces raise here is definitely in order with already a big pot, right, Jennifer?
Right, and Jack 10 is going to call
Yep.
for the flush anyway.
And he is going to raise.
Oh, yeah.
How about Tony peeling off for the gut shot with 7-8 offsuit with a 2-diamond board? Joe's going to call with Jack 10 and diamonds. And look at this. Grace comes over the top with a weak king. And now you're sitting there with the aces and like, what does Grace have? Does she flop 2 pairs? She can have any 2 hand, any 2 cards.
Was she slow playing kings before the flop or something?
And now a queen
wow.
comes and it's going to give Joe in seat 4 a flush. Grace checks. Aces check. Grace calls. Aces has got the ace of diamonds, so he's got to redraw to a higher flush. But Joe in seat 4 has the best hand. Tony's going to muck. And Grace is still in there. Grace drawing totally dead in seat 1. The river is an ace. It's going to give the guy with aces a set.
But
And look at this. He's going to bet the river.
If he bets, if he thinks the guy's already got a flush, that ace doesn't help him.
And now what does Joe do? Does he raise for value here? Joe can only be beat by ace 9. You've got to raise here. He's smart enough to figure that out. Jennifer, the only flush that he can be beaten here would be like an ace 9 or an ace 8. Would that guy raise out of the blind with that?
Right.
And Joe raises. And it's a good raise.
It is a good one.
Look at this. Albert with the set of aces has got to think, am I good here? But now the pot is so big.
I think that's a bad bet on his part.
Well, it actually brings it back to what Kenna James said. If you're going to make this type of bet here on the river with trips, and you get raised by a player who you respect, then you've got to be smart enough to get away from it.
Right.
Even if it is 3 aces. And Joe takes it down. What a hand. Look at the size of that pot. Unbelievable.
Let me set up, please. Set up, please.
I can't believe he bet with his aces there. I mean,
Yep.
he checked on the turn, so he didn't think it was good anymore. But nice hand.
Nice hand. I have a flush too. From 30 catch diamond.
Daddy, Opa got a lot of money. You charge me $1. Huh? This is take out no money. You charge me $5.
Give me
Yeah, you charge me $10.
Maury's going to raise here out of seat 9.
Hey, Patty.
I just love the way that Joe played that hand, Jennifer, because, again, you look back at the cards, He's got the jack and the 10 in his hand.
Right.
Would the guy have raised with like ace-7 suited? Maybe, but I think it's worth a raise.
It is
You know what I
definitely
mean?
worth a raise.
It's worth a raise at the end there. And Maury actually has ace-7 suited, and he's raised. And he's picked up a flush draw. 8, queen, king, 2 diamonds. Well, Tony's checked top pair. Let's see if he's going to check raise. He likes to do that with top pair. He is. Joe's out with pocket 4s. And Maury's going to 3-bet. And I assume he's going to take the 3 card. He's got the nut flush draw. Let's see if it gets checked to him if he takes a free card on the turn. And 8 comes.
Okay.
Yep, and he's going to take that free card. Oh, and he's not going to make it. Let's see what Tony does here. He's going to bet.
Tony, are you stealing it from me?
Well,
Almost.
you know, I think Maury's been paying attention where Tony hasn't check raised with, well, you know,
You don't have to
I
pay.
guess he could be on a lower diamond draw, but
Right.
Maury think it's worth it. No, he's going to mock.
Good deal, good deal.
Thank you.
That's a good.
Thank
Someone play with me. That is.
Just kidding, just kidding. You know it's Saul. You know Saul.
Someone play with me.
I'm just kidding, sweetie. It's, you know,
Hey.
great action. Great action.
Oh, looks like we get another email. Of course, you can email comments, questions, suggestions to live@thebike.com. This is coming from Jason Whitmore. He says, hello all. What hands do you play? You always commentate on how you don't play this hand or that hand, but never tell us what you do play.
I played the winning hand personally.
Well, I mean,
Well-
I can say that, you know, as I've said before, unless you're at a really, really loose table, in early positions, you really should restrict yourself to playing pocket pairs over 7s. And probably suited cards that are over Jack 10 suited.
Really? I would just. All right.
yeah,
Here's how I play. Take small stakes hold'em book as
Yeah.
a red cover
Yeah.
and increase the tightness by about 25%, and that's me.
So you think that that's a little bit too loose?
Yes.
But I know what you mean by that, yeah. I mean, obviously there's some great tables. There's Skolansky's Hold'em book for advanced players. It's got some starting hand
Correct.
requirements. Small Stakes says that you can play, you know, a suited ace or pocket pairs in a very, very loose game. But I still think
I
that
wouldn't do that.
you've got to have the very, very specific game to do that. And I don't think I would
Right.
do it in this game.
And I mean, there's certain games. I was sitting in a game the other day where, I mean, Ace King was not the profitable hand. I waited to get a 7-8 suited and 3-bet because I know I'm going to get paid off on my draw. And, you know, it just depends on the game.
3 king 9 here, 2 diamonds. Albert on the button is flop top pair. Now, Joe has checked the king from up front in seat 4. I'm smelling a check raise come in here, especially from a late position better. I think that was the point of him checking, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to check raise. He also has a backdoor spade draw. Vicky is called here with a gut shot. Talk about this, Jennifer. There's 2 diamonds on board, too. It's a 2 flush. And C2 is re-raised, and I actually, you know, I don't mind the play there. I think at that point, you know, maybe Joe's got a weak king. He's in the big blind, or he's on some sort of draw.
3 pins.
The turn's a 3. And Albert's going to continue to bet. Joe calls.
But even if you catch a flush, I'm not calling.
Wow, what's Vicky going to do?
I just, you know, you draw into a jack. You don't even know if it's good if a diamond comes. She mucks. And Joe's in trouble here.
I need a king.
The river's a deuce. Albert bets, and his 10's going to play kings and 3s with a 10 kicker. Yep.
I hope it keeps coming this way. 1 and 2. Good night, Albert.
So here's an interesting question for you, Bart. What's your under the gun raising requirement?
You know, it always depends on the game. You know, poker is definitely not a certainty. You know, you've got to be talking about if it's a full table, if it's a short table.
On average.
I don't like to limp in with a lot of things under the gun.
I never limp.
Sometimes I'll limp in with an ace-jack offsuit or a king-queen offsuit. But usually I'm going to bring hands in for a raise. Or maybe, like I said, those suited high cards. Like a queen-jack suited, maybe even a jack-10 suited. It all depends. It's funny, we were talking about, you know, we're responding to 2+2, the thread that goes on. You can go to that thread at www.2plus2.com and click on televised poker and world. I can never get the name of the thread correctly. World Poker Tour and other televised poker events, and we're right there. King Jack 4, 2 spades. Kathy's got the nut flush draw. She is in the big blind, and it gets checked around. She's picked up the flush, and she's going to check it. But I don't think anyone's going to bet. No, look at this. Albert's going to bet here with pocket threes. Now, the funny thing here with Kathy is I might just call here. Well, she's going to check raise. I might just call to try to get Grayson on some sort of ridiculous draw in seat 1. Right. But she check raises, and she's, you know, there aren't a lot of cards that are going to hurt you there because you have the nut flush. Obviously, it's different if you have a lower flush. Ace of diamonds on the river comes. Kathy takes it down. It's funny, Jennifer, I was looking through the threads, and it seems like there's a person on here that's posting up. I haven't seen him before. His name is Rama Bird. And
he doesn't like our critique.
Well, I just want to respond a little bit to him. He's saying, I think that some of you who are you know, new to listening to the show, I was saying that Shirley was a green chip prop, and I think he thinks that we're criticizing these players too much because we don't play at these levels. We play at low levels, and that really isn't the case.
Well, it doesn't really matter. 6 deuce is a bad hand in 3-6 and 30-60. But you're right. I mean,
and I also play at this level every single day, so or higher. You know, right. David and I, and Shirley plays pretty big too. She just happens to be that is what her title is. So,
right.
But again, you know, you can definitely find a game that at a 6-12 level that's much more solid than this game, right, Jennifer?
Right. I mean, the stakes are definitely higher, and there's a lot more risk. And of course, we respect that.
Look at this. Kim has hit trip 9s on the turn here. And now he's going to check raise Tony. Tony's been betting the jack all the way in seat 3. And Tony calls, and Tony is drawing totally dead. Well, he can catch a jack, excuse me. And now Kim is filled up on the river. A 3 comes. Tony's going to call him all the way. Kim's going to take it down with 9-3.
Full house?
I think a lot of people don't understand that.
That is beautiful.
Which is why I actually like playing at these levels. Just because the level of, you know, the amount goes up doesn't necessarily mean they're better players. It just means that someone's playing with who has more money, who has more expendable money.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like small business owners that want to come down and have fun, but they're not necessarily going to have the best time playing a 6-12 game.
Right.
But they'd like to win or lose $5,000 or $10,000 in a bigger game.
Right, exactly. And the cards are the same. The cards don't know a limit. So the game is exactly the same with bigger denomination chips. So you would think, to us, you know, this is, or at least to me, to play a 30-60 game, that's a lot of money. So you would think that the experience and the skill of play goes up, but we see that is not necessarily the case.
Yeah. And a lot of times you'll see that it's just more of an action game as the limits go up. Not necessarily more solid, just either more wild or just more aggressive.
Right.
You know, and you have to adjust.
I don't know.
Obviously.
Because he said,
No, wait.
hold on.
Shuffling the cards.
Looks like there's something wrong with the shuffle machine. That's usually the case, Jennifer. It's like, you know, a 40-80 game plays a lot bigger than twice a 20-40 game.
Right.
You know? Just because of the action level. This pot's been limped around. King, ace, 2 diamonds on board. Hank just mucks. He's a little frustrated. Mr. Kim checks. Turn is a 4. Now Mr. Kim bets. I was going to say, wonder if Mr. Kim's going to make a position bet here. He bets on the turn, he takes it down. It's the first, Hank usually comes on almost every single week, and you can't win every week.
That's true.
Or every session that you play. It's limit hold'em. It's a very volatile game. I would still think that even the best players might only win 65, 60% of the time.
That's good.
Yeah. That's really good. Game probably has one of the highest variances of any game in poker, if not the highest.
I was talking to somebody the other day about explaining your wins and losses versus percentage, and it doesn't really matter if you count it in percentages. If each time you win
more
$200,
right.
and every time you lose $2,000. You're still a losing player, even if you win 80% of the time.
Or if you win 2,000 and you lose 200 in small increments, something like that too. Queen 10-3, 3 clubs. Grace is going to bet out here on the king of clubs, and Mr. Kim's going to call with king 10. I might have liked to see Mr. Kim raise there, raise out small clubs behind him. The turn is a deuce. Grace bets, Mr. Kim calls. Ooh, the river's a king, and that Grace thinks she's good. Did Mr. Kim raise or just call?
He just called.
Wow. Boy, I definitely would have raised Grace there in the end. Absolutely, because, she could just as easily be betting a club draw.
Right.
She happened to catch her king there.
Yeah, that'd be a good value raise.
Yeah.
If he didn't already think that she had the flush, then his hand's still good.
Again, sometimes it's difficult to put Grace on a specific hand because she could be betting, any way down from bottom pair all the way up to a made flush to a flush draw.
That's what makes her game so good. She's unpredictable.
In that facet, it makes her game so good. But
yeah.
I think she calls down a little bit too much.
Please.
Joe's going to raise here, seat 4 with ace-jack offsuit. Kathy is going to call with ace-queen offsuit.
Oh, I would like to 3-bet there.
I tend to agree with you there. The only thing is Joe's a tricky player to play against because he's going to play back at you with nothing. He's not a weak player. But anyways, we're going to see 5-way action. Look at this, Joe's flop top pair right away. Tony bets with absolutely nothing, king 10, and Joe raises with ace-jack. Textbook hold'em with ace-jack to raise there. Get a hand like ace-queen out of there, which he does. And Grace is called with a gut shot straight draw. The turn is a queen. Now Kathy would have had the best hand, but Joe's raised her out. And now Tony picks up an open-ended straight draw. Called with nothing on the flop.
Grace is still in there.
And the river's an 8. And
it's an 8 of clubs, so Gracie has
8 of hearts.
So she had a flush.
Look at that, Joe bet the M with just a second pair there. Value bet. And again, that's a telltale sign of a good player there too. If you run the hand back in your head, do you think that queen would have hit anyone?
No.
If the queen had hit anyone, you probably would have gotten check raised because the guy would have had at least 2 pairs in his hand.
Right.
Because why would someone stick in there with a bare queen?
Right.
He raised Kathy out with ace-queen.
It was a good raise.
Yeah. So I really like the bet at the end there.
Vicky's going to post in seat 7.
Maury's on the button. He's picked up ace-9 suited. He's going to raise.
Gracie called.
I think a lot of people. I was gonna say, I think a lot of people fall in love with painted, unsuited cards, which don't have a lot of value, especially out of position in this game.
Yeah. Well, easy to lay down on that flop, though.
Well, no, she's got a gut shot. I'm sure she's gonna stay in. And look at this. Maury doesn't raise. He's changing it up a bit. Didn't raise with his ace. C2 bet in with a weak ace. 8 comes on the turn. And now Grace is double gutted here. A 9 would give her a straight. A king would give her a straight. Maury's still not raising. He's losing a little bit of value here because Grace definitely would call the raises. Wow, the river is an ace. Both players have made trips. Now you think that Maury's probably going to raise for value here at the end. Wow, he just calls.
Maybe it's sort of a crying call. Maybe he thinks the guy could have him out kicked.
9's going to play. He played that hand a little bit passively there. And he did lose some value because he would have, Grace would have called his raises.
Maury, you played too tight today.
And Joe's saying he's
I think I would have raised on the flop just to find out where I am.
Joe's saying chicken. So he played that hand like a chicken. He did play it a little passively there. Especially if you're the pre-flop raiser.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we see a lot of clubs in this hand. Queen 10 of clubs for seat 2, ace 9 of clubs for seat 7. Vicky's going to raise it up with ace 9 of clubs. Albert's going to call with Queen 10 of clubs in seat 2. And Tony's in there with Jack 5 offsuit.
Vicky hit the top pair.
Pretty good flop for Vicky. C2's got a gut shot. He's going to call. Tony is... Did Tony muck? Tony mucked. Turns a 5. Vicky bets. And Queen 10 still calling with over cards and a straight draw. Needs to get a jack, a 10, or a queen. Doesn't get there.
Vicky takes it down.
Vicky checked it down there on the river.
I would have bet for value if I played that hand.
Well, yeah, again, if you work the hand back in your head, I don't know how that 3 could really help anyone at the end.
I would put ace 9 suited in one of my hands I don't play. How about you, Bart?
9 comes on the turn? Yeah.
I think if I was in Vicky's position there, in middle position, and no one's brought it in for a raise, with my reputation, I would raise.
Well, with my reputation, I could probably raise too, but...
Well, it looked like she was in the 3rd position, so yeah, she was in early position. That's one of those in-between ones. Depends on how the night's going. And what I mean by that is your table image. If you're winning a lot of hands, then a lot of people don't want to go up against you. If you're losing, then I almost might tend to tighten up a little bit because people aren't giving me credit.
Oh, I thought you meant that people know you as a type player.
Well, I think a lot of people do, but I think it also depends on a lot of people say you play every situation the same. And I don't agree with that. And I think depending on how your session is going in Limit Hold'em, I think you can make adjustments to your game. I mean, especially if you're running hot, I think you can be really, really aggressive. Because the chances that someone's going to go up against you are pretty slim if you keep showing down winning hands. And obviously the exact opposite if you're running bad.
Every time you win or lose, you have to explain to everybody.
Albert's going to raise here with ace-5 offsuit in seat 2. Tony Cole calls with 7-10 on the button. Kim's in there with king-jack suited. And wow. Kathy calls with 4-10 suited for a raise. Look at this. Kim flops trip jacks out of seat 5. And he's going to check. And he throws a crying call in. Kathy's
Well, if he
gonna
can
mock-
get 7-10 offsuit to bet that flop, why not?
Ace 5 monks.
But can he count on seat 3 betting it on the turn? Can he go for the check raise?
Well, now he's filled up. Kim's got... Oh, excuse me. He's
No.
got king jack. I thought he had ace jack. And he checked. He
He
goes
missed
check,
a
check.
bet.
Yeah. Now he bets, and Tony's not going to pay him off.
Well, I didn't necessarily miss a bet. Can seat 3 really call on the turn anyway?
7 on the... 7 on the rabbit cam.
She posted the first time she posted, she won.
Could have sworn the whole board was out there. though.
Yeah,
the whole board was out there. Yeah. Okay, so we
Okay.
flipped to the rabbit cam for I guess what the 6th card would have been.
Right. The
whole board was out there, right?
Yeah. That's cool. Because
That's why I was so confused. Yeah, the turn was checked. Yeah,
I-
the whole board was out there.
I was like,
yeah,
oh, he would have
yeah.
got a 7 on the river and he didn't bet? What's going on here?
Kim, nobody called. What do you call
We
me
got
at
about
night?
5 minutes left in the webcast. Obviously, this is a 4-hour show.
Right. And it's better that she gets in the habit of putting the card up there.
That's true.
If we don't need it, we won't show it, usually.
Deuce 8-5 ace. Maury's led, and he's going to bet again. And he's going to take it down with ace queen. There's a rabbit cam for us. 7 of diamonds.
Was it the same card, huh? Ah.
Wow, same card. So we got about 5 minutes left in the show. Of course, please join in tomorrow for our $500 shootout. You can watch Shirley Rosario play against the likes of Mo and some of the other usual characters that we have on our big No Limit games on Friday nights. And you can join us every Wednesday through Saturday from 6 to 10 o'clock Pacific time for Live at the Bike. First and only webcast with whole cards of cash games.
I know, it's exciting.
And
Look,
like I
we've
said-
got an ace king here.
Well, that's Kim. He's got the ace king. Mr. Kim's been cold calling ace king all night. I haven't seen him 3-bet that hand yet. And he's got the ace king in seat 5. Deuce, queen, 4.
I'm starting to get fed up with ace king myself. I gotta realize it's still a drawing hand.
Well, we can see that Grace has got 1 queen. I can't quite... The other card's a paint card, so it's either king queen or she's got pocket queens. The turn is an ace. Seat 2 is out of the hands. Grace is going to bet again. Mr. Kim just calls with ace king. And Maury's going to call with a pair and a flush draw here in seat 9. The river is a 7. It looks like Grace might have pocket queens here. Well, no, she's checked it, so she must not have pocket queens, and Kim bets. And I would assume that Kim is going to take it down here with ace king.
I think Grace calls.
It was queen jack of clubs. And Kim is going to take it down with ace king.
Yeah, I have the ace king around 10 times. This is first king.
Now here's another question for you, Jennifer. Why wouldn't Kim raise the turn? There.
I don't know. The only hand he's got to put her on is that he can't raise her with. She's got to have ace queen.
Right.
Or pocket queens. Why not?
Yeah, yeah. And especially with Grace's reputation of betting anything,
Right.
I would have raised there.
You're lucky I go smoking.
This is going to be the last hand of the night for us. Thanks again, Jennifer. Will we be seeing you a little bit tomorrow?
Negative.
No?
But I will be back next week.
Okay.
Oh, what am I saying? I'll be here on Friday. Somebody almost threw something at me in here. I'll be here on Friday, folks. I promise.
Kathy is going to raise here for our final hand out of seat 6 with pocket queens. Grace has got a 7-9 offsuit. Tony's got a queen deuce. And Kim's got a jack 10. Ace 6-5. Look at this. Grace bets on a gut shot. Tony calls. And Kathy is not even scared of the eights. She raises with queens. Well, that's Grace's MO. She likes to bet a lot of draws when an ace is on the board there. The turn is a 5. Kathy's going to bet again. I like the bet. Now you can just check down the river, Jennifer. Although with Grace, you never know. You still might bet the river because she could call with something like a pair of 7s or 9s.
Right.
The river's a 3. Kathy's going to check it down. She's going to take it down with queens and 5s.
Nice hand, Kathy.
That's going to do it for us. So please tune in tomorrow at 6 o'clock Pacific time for a $500 no-limit hold'em shootout. For Bart Hansen and Jennifer Bankston, good night, everybody, from Live at the Bike.
It's here. It's big. And it's closer than you think. It's not a tournament. It's what you don't see on TV. The cash is real. The stakes are high. They bet big. They win big. They lose big. High stakes live action poker. Live at the Bike. Watch it live on the web or play it if you dare at the Bicycle Casino right here in Los Angeles.